Hey, what's going on, people? Welcome to the Thursday night show where we try to keep things live, fun, and entertaining, but at the same time informative because I think that in order to form a more perfect union, especially after America's 250th birthday, happy birthday, America, uh, we, we are reminded of how important it is for us to not only pay attention, but to be involved with things that are going on around us. So, in the spirit of that movement, I am continuing my conversation about the Carmelo Anthony conviction and the Metcalf, what is deemed now the Metcalf murder, and just some final points on things that I noticed about this entire uh, debacle, if you will. What's going on? We got 80% CMOS. We got Rosemont Harris, Katie, Sprinkle, Pixie Dust. What's going on? As with anything, like just so you guys know, I will be on screen tonight. I'm just letting the room fill up a little bit. But if you want to participate, this is a call-in show. I just asked that we try to keep the commentary somewhat limited just because I want to try to get in as many people as possible. I'm only going to run the live for about an hour and a half. I want to try to get in as many people as possible. If you have a disagreement, you don't agree with what I say, or you find disagreement, I have zero problems with that. Okay? I'm not one of those people who are going to sit there and try to regulate people's speech or thought. I want people to have open minds. I want people to have independent thought. I think one of the more frustrating things about this particular case is that if you ask a question or you don't agree 100% with observations that everybody else is making, that all of a sudden you're a terrible person. We can differ on opinions, but we can respect each other at the same time. And I think that as long as we're approaching it from the respect of I'm trying to understand where you're coming from because you're trying to understand where I'm coming from, this conversation and our knowledge will grow a lot more, and we'll have a better understanding of the case, what has been said, what hasn't been said. Let's be honest about what we're actually talking about and where we're getting this information. So that's my biggest thing, like, because I think that with these types of cases, it's an excellent way for the average person to understand how our criminal justice system works, so that if they ever find themselves in the unfortunate situation where they have to participate, especially in our jurisprudence, which is the criminal justice system, or even in a civil case, that they understand what's happening, why it's happening, what they need to say, what they shouldn't be saying, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just creates a better system. The system does not work if only some of the people have all the information and a majority of the people have no idea what's going on and how the system actually works. It's a disservice to everybody involved. One, you can have a lot of people getting convicted who shouldn't be convicted, which is that you have perpetrators, potential perpetrators and predators who are still on the street committing crimes because a person who was investigated or looked at made a crucial or critical error in saying the wrong thing or presenting the wrong thing the wrong way. So we'll do that, but I'm gonna give everybody a chance to kind of log in, get settled, and we're going to get started. Let me just drop some music in and we'll go. Thank you for joining, and we'll get it ripping.
Could be watching chefs burn pots in the kitchen, or influencers fake fights for attention. Drama queens with crowns, but no conviction. But now you're here, my addiction. Could've clicked that, prank that, mukbang feast, or streams of gamers slaying beats. But you're here with me, not scrolling free, not lost in streams or reality. You're here with me where you wanna be, out the algorithm, just you and me. Could be watching cats knock glasses down, or a dude trying to stunt, stressed as a clown. DIY hacks turn smiles to frowns, but you're vibing here, no fakes around sound. This ain't unboxing or ASMR. No clickbait titles, no rented cars. Realest channel in your repertoire. Stay tuned, superstar. But you're here with me, not scrolling free, not lost in streams or reality. You're here with me where you wanna be, out the algorithm. Just you and me.
Because something strange is happening with my system. Drop a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me. You can see me. All right, that was the weirdest shit ever. Can I tell you how weird that? What the hell is going on? What is going on, y'all? Oh my gosh. Oh wow. So I was being heard, I couldn't see nothing, and I was blocked out of my own joint. Like, what the shit? Okay. Maybe we have some information that's coming out that they don't want us to talk about. All right, so here we go. All right. Oh, under attack. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. Running for the bus, hitting the like button. Appreciate you. All right, well, let's get into it. Shall we talk? Can we talk a little bit, y'all? The reason why I posted the the signage that I did is in response to something that I noticed was being kicked around by a lot of folks who are talking about uh, this particular case. And one of the things that is constantly brought up was Karmello was in a place where he didn't belong. And Austin and his brother and their friends were merely acting as security guards, trying to keep the peace when Carmelo went crazy and started slashing and burning and pillaging. And I get that why that would be disconcerting. It is disconcerting, especially if you don't ask any further questions. If you look at it and just say, yeah, the kid just gently went up and asked this guy to, this isn't a space for you. This is for the team. And then all of a sudden, dude pull a damn Jason Voorhees and start, ripping and tearing ass. Yeah, that's a bad look. That's just crazy. That's a crazy. What's going on? We have to ask additional questions. And I think that's where like my analysis is different, I think, from some people's analysis, because what I'm not going to do, and I want to be very clear about this, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon because a case or a defendant or a prosecution witness or a victim makes people feel good. And because that person makes them feel good or makes them feel a certain kind of way or secure in their situation, that we should no longer question. We should not ask probing questions to try to find out what the truth is, because the truth is too unsettling. The truth is too scary for us to deal with. We're adults. We have to be able to deal with the consequences, situations, and environments, as well as the crimes as they're presented, not as we wish they would be. Now, in most conversations that begin with the stabbing, nothing happens in a vacuum. Meaning that it didn't just start at that moment. That would be disturbing. And maybe that's why people are so upset, because to them, the world didn't start spinning until Karmello pulled that 6-1 out of his bag. Right? But we have to recognize that tragedies like this rarely happen in isolation. They rarely happen where it's just some psycho kid shows up and just starts blazing people. Right? And even then I would have questions. What usually happens is that there are usually a series of decisions that are being made. There's a succession of choices that are happening. Things where you can say, if you're paying attention, you can see that signs and problems are brewing and issues are coming up. Like there's missed opportunities, there's warning signs that just accumulate over time. And I think one question that kept bothering me and keeps bothering me to this day, because I have an inquisitive mind. I don't just accept what people tell me because trust me, bro. Trust me. Yeah, the prosecution. Yeah, they got it all figured out. Trust me, bro. The system's working out perfect. Trust me, bro. We don't have to do anything in public. We don't have to do it in plain sight of people. We could just go behind closed doors, make decisions, and throw people in prison. And you just have to trust that we're doing the right thing. Trust me, bro. The funny thing is, especially on the founding of the celebration of the birthday of America, happy birthday, America, is that the founding fathers, the people who drafted the documents to create this country, implicitly said that they don't trust people in power. That's why you have the system set up the way you do. When people talk about the First Amendment isn't to protect your ability to watch pornography. The First Amendment is put in place so that the government can't come down and punish you for making observations and criticisms about the government. The First Amendment is put in place so that when I go to a newspaper or some kind of secular journal or whatever the case may be, and I speak out against the government can't shut my newspaper down because I'm disagreeing with them. You talk about the fourth estate, my ability to assemble, who I get to hang out with, who I get to talk to. The government can't tell me who I get to talk to and associate with because those people may disagree with the government. That's what these rights are for. The Second Amendment technically is to protect us against the government, not to protect us against some smacked out meth head. It's to protect us against the government and governmental overreach. The Fourth Amendment that talks about searches and seizures, illegal searches and seizures. So cops or police officers or judges just can't decide that one day they're going to move into your house because you got a nice spot and they can see whoever they're investigating better. Or they just want to be able to put you in jail for whatever reason. They can't just seize you or seize your property because that's something they want to do. It's there because they don't trust the government. Your Fifth Amendment, your ability to stay silent, isn't there because they recognize the power of the state. When you go to court, or in this case, when Karmello Anthony went to court, it wasn't Karmello Anthony versus the Metcalf family. It was the state of Texas versus Karmello Anthony. The full power and weight of the state, their investigators, their budget, their money for finances against this one individual. And so the founding fathers looked at that disparity of power, and they want to give as much power to the individual as they can. So you don't have to speak to the police if you're and not be punished because you didn't provide testimony, you didn't testify against yourself, you didn't say things that would incriminate you. In other words, you can shut the hell up, which is what they usually recommend. Attorneys will tell you, shut the hell up, stop talking. You have the right to an attorney, Sixth Amendment, or a right to appropriate counsel. Those rights are so powerful. Everybody knows you have a right to you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney. If you can't provide an attorney, one will be appointed to you. Those rights are so powerful under Miranda. I think it was Miranda v. Florida, actually. Under Miranda, those rights are so powerful that the Supreme Court said that in order for the police to even talk to you once they have you in custody, they have to remind you of your rights. Because they recognize that not everybody is going to adhere to it, and these rights are important to protect you. Now, when I say all that, you're under the Sixth Amendment, you also have a right to face your accuser, and you have a right to a public trial, which is one of the things that Karmello Anthony's attorneys are now appealing. One of the grounds that they're appealing on is that the judge basically knocked out the cameras. Now, when we sit here and talk about it on YouTube, Facebook, wherever the case may be, social media, half the people who are quoting these things are quoting what somebody else heard somebody else say. And you know how I know that's the case? Because they have not released the transcripts yet. The court transcripts are not available. So we're not hearing from the court reporter what was said in court. There's zero video available because the judge refused to televise it. So the only testimony or reports that we have come from people who are sitting in the gallery and are reporting whatever it is that they want to report, however they want to report it. I have a problem with that. And you should have a problem with that. Not because you support Karmello Anthony or because you support the Metcalfs. You should have a problem with that as a citizen, because I don't want another citizen, especially one that we're going to find guilty and put in prison or whatever the case may be. I don't want them to be in a situation where they are denied observation, because at the end of the day, what that judge did was, you prosecuted this young man in the name of the people of the state of Texas, and you cut the people of the state of Texas out. A basic rule I have for my kids and people that I deal with. If you're making plans and I am the plan, I need to be included in the planning. If you're going to do something in my name or in representation of me or somehow I'm involved, then I need to be involved with the planning. I need to know what's happening. And if I don't, I'm not a happy person. Hold on, let me see. Turn up a little bit. But that's where I am with it. Now, when we talk about like this particular incident, and I was saying about like the people from the past, I'm not trying to demonize anybody. I'm not trying to make one group a good person and other group a bad person. But as like somebody said, James, you just trying to bash, he's dead and you're trying to bash him and his memory. No. As my mother said when I was a child, my parents, mother and father, told me as I was a child, the only thing you owe people is truth. Only thing you owe anybody is honesty. Whether they're here or they're gone. The only thing you owe them is honesty. And when push comes down to shove, I look at this situation and frankly, I feel like I'm gonna just, fuck all the notes. I'm gonna just tell you what I feel. I feel like this situation was set up in a way where it was inevitable that something like this was going to happen, a tragedy like this was going to happen, especially if I believe what people were trying to report about the situation. Let me go a little further and explain. There was a point where, Karmello was said that, Austin approached them, asked them to leave the tent. Karmello rejected that idea notion, said basically F you or whatever, I'm not leaving, whatever he said. Then Austin, security force number one, decided he was going to ask him a few more times, and then he was going to try to escort Karmello out. Now, whether Karmello had the right to be under that tent or not, the question for me comes down to authority. Did Austin have the authority to ask him to leave? Could he ask him to leave? Sure. You can ask anybody, freedom of speech. You can say, hey, man, I don't think you really belong here. But if he says no, does Austin have a right to put his hands on him? Does he have a right to escort him out? The answer is no. He does not have a right to put his hands on him because he didn't have the authority. But James, according to reports, teachers had asked him to watch the tent. That is not true. You know how I know that's not true? Because I have the text messages, y'all. See, unlike most people, I'm not, like I said, this is why I ask questions. I have an inquisitive mind. I don't just listen to a bunch of YouTubers tell me something and then I just take what they say is true. Or somebody from Law and Crime. Like I like that website. I enjoy it. I've been sometimes my videos that I'm going to be producing will be coming from some of those stories will be coming from that website. I like the way they do stuff. But they themselves, when they looked at these cases, have certain stories in certain ways that they want to shape and create narratives. So it was reported that a teacher had asked Austin to watch the tent and keep the tent secure. This is actually something that Austin's mom had said. And then I went back and I went to the city website, downloaded the full appeal pleading, downloaded all the exhibits, and it just so happens that one of those exhibits was that text message. It was that text message. I'm not going to do what I criticize other YouTubers are doing. I would invite you, if you're so curious and you want to do it, I want you to do the research. I want you to go to the website. All you got to do is type in full full Karmello Anthony appeal pleading, and they'll send you to a website. You Google it, they'll send you to a website. You can download all of the exhibits that they've included in their pleadings. In one of those exhibits, I'll even read it to you. I'll show you. Shit, I'll show you. I'll show it to you. Because I'm a crazy person. and I might be a lot of things, but I will do some research on some shit. I will look some stuff up. Let's see. Oh. I think I saved it down. Well, essentially what happened was there were a couple of emails that were tied to it that the defense counsel was going to bring up, which also gets, I won't get into the whole thing of the appeal because that's a separate video because it'll take too long. But what had happened was the coaches were talking amongst each other. The head coach was telling the assistant coach, these Metcalf boys are only showing up to aggrandize themselves. They show up for their events. They come in, they throw their stuff because they're in the field part of it. They weren't on the track team, they were on the field part. So I think Austin threw discus or something. And I think the other one was throwing shot put. They come in, do their events. Half the time, they're not even wearing a uniform. And as soon as their events are over, they leave. They don't support the rest of the team. So I need them to start showing up. I need them to start being involved. They even talked at that point about kicking them off of the team that was supposed to be going to regionals because, one, they kept losing. They weren't doing well. And then, two, they weren't supporting the team. So the morning of the incident, Austin received a message from the coach who had asked him, hey, I need your help. Go down and help get the tent so that we have the tent set up. And by the way, I need you to start stepping up and being a leader. I need you to start being an example to the younger people. At no point did that teacher or that coach ever say, bro, I need you to get down there and protect that damn tent from anybody who shows up. I need you to protect the tent. I need you to lay your life down for the tent. That was never a conversation. He was not told to protect the tent. He was told to act in the form of a leader. Be an example to the younger people who are joining the team. An example of somebody who is a younger person joining the team would be somebody who doesn't walk around, in my mind, is not somebody who says, hey, it's raining outside. You got to go stand in the rain because you don't go to our school. Be the type of leader who says, hey, buddy, what's going on, man? Are you okay? And then have a conversation with him. If he's not sitting there, if Karmello's not sitting there doing shit, he ain't saying shit, he ain't hurting nobody. There's plenty of room. It's not like he's taking up room or space and somebody who belongs to your team can't sit down. He's just sitting there. Why not just let him sit there? And that's if you say anything at all. But my biggest problem with that whole thing, if I want to keep it all the way honest, is that if I believed that the teachers and the people who were in charge of this particular thing went and asked Austin, who had had problems of violence before, who was in a position, as noted in the pleadings that were sent in, because it's a whole, like, this shit is a mess. And I at first, when I heard he was trying to get a new trial, I was like, yeah, everybody try to get a new trial. There's a possibility, y'all, no bullshit. There's a possibility he might actually get a new trial out of this. So people who sit there and say, there's no way it's going to happen. Bruh, I'm telling you, the shit that the prosecution pulled, yeah, between the prosecution and the judge doing interviews after, the judge is going to have to recuse himself or he might get knocked off the case early on. 1, 2, the fact that the way they did the agreements and things that they had between Karmello Anthony's attorneys, defense counsel, and the prosecution, and for the prosecution to renege on the agreements later, and then for the judge to say, like, limit Karmello Anthony's rights to 10 minutes, bruh, this shit is a mess. I know why the dude closed the courtroom out. This is a problem. You know, this is like this whole case is a problem. It's a problem, man. And this is why you do shit the right way the first time. So that way, when if he'd have did the right thing, like in my opinion, if the judge would have allowed this thing to be filmed gavel to gavel, would people get up in grandstand? Possibly. Would people be able to make hay and stuff? Possibly. But it's not like people aren't talking about the shit now. Let people get up in grandstand. Let them do what they're going to do. Do their thing. Knock yourself out. Go crazy. But people would know what was happening. You'd be able to cite what was happening. But they had in the pleadings, they had a report after report after report of cheerleaders who were saying that the Metcalf boys were bullying them. You had other students who were saying that they were being bullied by the Metcalf boys. You had people who were saying that these guys were prideful and they didn't tolerate disrespect and they responded in violence. You had accusations that they were about to get kicked off the football team for fighting, things of that nature. And with that history, you ask these kids to be bodyguards for the tent. What did you think was going to happen? And that's why that's why I didn't believe, like, to be honest with you, I don't believe that a teacher would ask that situation. And people who think, and I want to say this, people who look at like big people, because I'm a big person. I'm 6'7". Said this before. It feels like I'm bragging now. 6'7", motherfucker. I'm 6'7". I was a big kid even in high school, right? And I was bigger than most of my teachers in grade school, middle school. All right, I was rivaling their size. And by the time I got to middle school, I was towering over a good amount of my teachers. And in fact, I had to grow. Like, one of the things in being a bigger person, you have to grow up earlier. Like, you have to become more mature, because when people look at you, they don't see a 12-year-old or 13-year-old. They see a grown-ass man, because you're bigger than most men. And I say all that to say this. I've been to places recently, and people will come up to me and say things to the effect of, oh, you're a big guy. You could be a bodyguard. You could be a bouncer, or whatever the case may be. I bet nobody ever messes with you. And here's the thing. Here's the secret to the sauce. Everybody assumes that because you're a bigger guy, that nobody messes with you. That's not true. That's not true at all. You know what it is? When you're a bigger guy, if you're we'll reverse it. If you're an average size person, when people come over to you and they start shit with you, it might be willy-nilly. Maybe you bumped them and they want to, who you bumping into? You stepped on my shoe, right? No preparation involved. When people approach a bigger person, they are prepared. When they approach a bigger person, they either have friends who are scattered amongst whatever thing you in. They have backup. They got their own back, meaning that they have a tool of some sort in their belt or their waist or their boot. They have bottles or whatever, pipes or whatever the case may be around somewhere, because they're not trying to lose a fight. And I recognize that everybody has this freaking fantasy that when they were kids, we used to just go hand to hand and shoot it from the shoulders because we wasn't afraid to get our ass whipped. And that's a nice little story to tell. But let's be honest, people. Wasn't nobody okay with getting their ass whipped 20 damn years ago? That wasn't a thing. Nobody was all right with getting beat the fuck up. Nobody was like, oh yeah, I went down to the Piggly Wiggly and Tommy, he was talking left outside side of his neck. So I said, I stepped to him. I said, let's go out back. He whipped my ass for about 15, 20 minutes. That is not a thing. People got jumped. That's not new. People got jumped when I was a kid. And if you are a person who's never encountered violence and don't really understand how violence works, real violence works, then God bless you. And I appreciate your wonderful privilege that you don't know how violence works. But in the street, I grew up in a middle class neighborhood, upper middle class neighborhood. I went to a high school where everybody, it was a Catholic school. They took people from all over the city. Some of my best friends were from some of the worst parts of the city. And I've seen shit hanging out with them at their houses and at their places where they stay. I've seen shit that I never would have saw growing up where I grew up. I saw what violence, actual violence, looks like. And the difference, the very subtle difference is that people who approach this and typically talk about this circumstance and situation talk about it like little kids talk about violence. People who watch TV talk about violence. They don't understand how real world violence works. Oh, you show up with 6 guys, one of which is your brother. I get in an argument with that dude. So if I'm Karmello Anthony, I'm sitting there, 5 guys roll up. First of all, me and my thing, first rule is self-defense, whether you're doing self-defense or not. First rule of self-defense is self-awareness or situational awareness. You should be paying attention to your environment. If you're one of those people who walk down the street staring at your phone, you're going to get your teeth blasted out your face. You need to be paying attention to what's going on around you. So I pay attention. I would have noticed 5 guys walking up into the damn tent, aggressive and quick. Even if one of those 4 guys, 4 of those 5 guys broke off and were hanging out, I noticed that all 5 of them guys walked in together. So this guy who's coming up talking shit to me got 4 buddies here. And I would also notice that one of them looks remarkably like the motherfucker who's sitting there talking to me. And me being a brother, I am a brother myself. I'm a brother. I'm not just a brother. I'm also a brother. And I'm telling you right now, I don't give a shit who my brother is fighting or why. What's not going to happen is I'm not going to stand there and watch my brother get his ass whipped. That's not one day of the week and twice on Sunday will I stand there and watch my brother get his ass whipped. So all that bullshit about, oh, it was a one-on-one fight. That was not a one-on-one fight. I don't give a fuck what you say. There's no way in the world that 5 guys going to roll up on a dude. And if Karmello Anthony would have jumped off that bleacher and started whipping the dog shit out of Austin, his brother was just going to step back and go, whoa, that's amazing. Oh my God, look at the technique, the speed. No, he's going to jump his ass. It was 5 against 1, at least. Sorry, not sorry. 2, if I'm being a big guy, and I hate this shit too, because part of me could see it. Oh, the Austin boys, Metcalf boys are big kids, so I'm going to make them in charge of security. Being big doesn't make you bulletproof. Damn sure, as we discovered, don't make you knife proof. Don't make you baseball bat proof. Don't make you invulnerable to get jumped later on, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. The only way being big works is if you're intimidating somebody because you're bigger than them. In other words, when Austin and his buddies approached Karmello, they felt confident in the fact that they were bigger than him. There were more of them than him. They didn't approach a kid that, Karmello, whether you like him or not, is half Austin's size. Is damn near half his size. So it wasn't a fair fight. There was nothing fair about that. And if you're, again, situational awareness, if you've ever done security or you've ever worked for a police department, you know that part of it is when you hire a bouncer, you don't hire a bouncer because when they ask people to leave, everybody just agree with you and go, oh, you're a big guy. Yeah, you're right. I probably did have too much to drink. Let me get the hell out of here. I was feeling kind of wonky. Thanks for letting me know. That's not why you hire a bouncer, because anybody could do that job. You hire a bouncer because eventually somebody's going to say, hey, man, you got to go. You had too much to drink. No. And F your mama. That's why you have bouncers. And that's why bouncers, not only do bouncers have to be big and strong and capable, bouncers also have to be able to de-escalate situations. They have to also be able to disarm situations. They also have to be able to properly evaluate a situation. If you are twice the size of somebody, you came in with 4 buddies, and you're asking a kid to leave who is half your size, that kid plants his feet, puts his shoulder back, and reaches into a bag and says, fuck you, then you should have the situational awareness to recognize that there's something more going on. That one observation could have saved Austin's life. That one observation could have saved his life. You're victim blaming. No, I'm telling you what it is. That one observation could have saved his life. This kid is half my size. I told him to leave 15 times. That's what people always say. He told him to leave 15 times. I told him to leave 15 times. Then he looks at me and says, put your hands on me and find out what happens. Even if I say it's the worst possible, it sounds like, to me, it sounds like black bear shit. Like when you see a black bear in the wilderness, you're supposed to make yourself as big as possible and scary and scream at the bear to try to scare the bear off. But realistically, if the bear charges you, you dead as fried chicken, right? You're fucking done because that bear is going to rip you to pieces and throw you up in the damn trees. You have 0 chance of winning that fight. But you make yourself big and don't touch me, right? That's what that shit sounds like to me. I told him don't put his hands on me. That's what that sounds like to me. But let's say he is crazy as shit and he said, bitch, don't put your hands on me and put your hands on me, find out what happened. And I do take that as a threat. Let's say I'm going to pretend that Karmello Anthony was threatening Austin, a guy who is twice his size and twice his body weight. He's threatening him in front of 4 of his buddies, one of which is his twin brother who is bigger than him. And your response is to gently push this guy, according to some people who I've communicated with. He gently pushed him. You put your hands on a dude who told you don't put your hands on me, who is half your size and standing in the dirt 10 toes down. You are not prepared. And then I say all that, not just as a shot on Austin. I say that for any adult. If an adult actually put that child in that line of fire, as a parent, I would be losing my mind. A whole nest of people would be losing their fucking jobs. Point blank. They will be losing their jobs. I send my kid to a damn track meet and you got him working security because he's taller than everybody else. He's stronger than everybody else. Hell, we're going to sit aside the fact that he has temperament issues, that he don't know how to keep his hands to himself, that you've talked to him repeatedly about fighting in school. We're going to put that aside. My kid could be as gentle as as a panda bear. And you're going to put him in line of fire? Because again, you have to anticipate that when he asks somebody to leave, that they might turn around and say no. And then where do you go from there? Did you instruct him or give him training that if he asks somebody to leave because he's supposed to protect the tent, that he should come and get a teacher or a person in authority who can take over from there and coerce the person to leave or lend instruction? Or did you tell the guy who tried to do some cowboy shit to try to escort this kid off? And when I don't give a shit what you say. Oh, he said he didn't want to fight him over there. The second you put your fucking hands on me, it's on and popping. I don't know where people come from. Did you think you could just put your hands on somebody? Who raised you? Well, you think that you have the authority because you think you're right, that you can walk up and put your hands on me. Especially if we're in a disagreement, I don't want you touching me. You don't have a right to put your hands on me. You can ask me all day something. We could talk all day, but you don't have a right to put your hands on me. Now, does that give me the right, James? Does that give you the right to just pull a knife and, gun a motherfucker? No, absolutely not. Not absolutely not. It's got to be proportional. It does have to be proportional. But that is inviting a fight at minimum. Because what happens, even in that situation, let's play it all the way out. You put your hands on me and you give me a gentle push. What's going to happen if we play it all the way out? Because I like game theory. You put your hands on me, you give me a gentle push. What you going to do when I gently push your ass back? You going to gently push me again? I'm going to gently push your ass back. How does that end? That ends in a fight. The problem is that, like I said, when you deal with actual violence, not TV violence, not schoolyard violence, but you deal with actual violence, people are actually afraid, people actually have concerns. You can't dictate my response. You can't tell me how to fight. There are no rules in street fighting. I remember we used to say that shit as a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the only people who get fair ones are family. Everybody else gets stole. Meaning that if we could sit there and have rules and, okay, I'm not going to kick you in the nuts. You don't punch me in the face. Don't clothesline me. If I fall down, you got to help me up. If I'm down for more than 3 seconds or I can't get up, then the fight is over. If we can come up with all those kind of rules, we should not be fighting. We can find more common ground and we can figure out whatever it is. We can talk our way through it. Most cases, when the fight rules are basically, if I'm winning, and we got rules. If I'm losing, anything goes. That's how it works. And the adults in this situation, because from my understanding, the Metcalf boys were acting out the way they were, and they received very little punishment. You insulated them and groomed them in a way that they thought that they could conduct themselves however they wanted to, and there were no repercussions. So if Austin approached a smaller child and he got into a fist fight with that child, nothing was going to happen to him. He got to be a cowboy. He got to beat the kid up because he was expecting that kid to fight on his terms. Now, if you look at Austin, and this is one of the dangers, because, again, self-defense doesn't come down to what I, as the person who started the fight, understood. What it comes down to is what the person who is claiming self-defense understood. And it came out during the appeal as part of the pleading that Anthony has medical issues. He suffers from epilepsy. And so if I go out to a bar and somebody who's 5'10" or 5'8" picks a fight with me at 160 pounds, I'm 6'7", well over 150 pounds, and he picks a fight with me, he may not know that I have a heart condition. He may not know. Well, I don't have a heart condition. Don't go crazy. But he may not know if I have medical problems. He may not know that I have 2 bad knees or a bad shoulder, that I can't fight him the way he wants to fight. And so any interaction I have with him, it becomes accelerated because I am not functioning at a level where he understands. He just sees a big guy, big flesh, big body. He doesn't know what my problems are. I do, though. And I know if I get in this fight, I'm going to be hurt and I could possibly be injured, seriously injured, or killed. Seriously injured or killed gives me deadly weapon, deadly force, continuum abilities. When you are approaching somebody, like Karmello had the 6-in-1, the knife in his bag, I have had the right to carry a weapon my entire adult life. My entire adult life, I've had the right to carry a weapon. Not just the right, I've had the license to carry a weapon. Right? The thing about carrying weapons, first rule of concealed carry, meaning that the people who, when I interact with people, nobody knows. If I have a weapon on me, I got a Roscoe on me, nobody knows that I got a Roscoe. Because it's concealed. Right? It's not swinging off my hips like Wyatt Earp. It's somewhere they don't know I have it. But I do. Now, James rule number 1, when you go out, if I have to go somewhere and I'm afraid that I need a weapon, or my concern is in order for me to go there and get out safely, I have to have my firearm with me, then me and that firearm stay the fuck home. That's rule number 1. If I need a gun to get out, I don't go. Me and my jammies stay in the crib. Me and my girlfriend staying in the house. We just be hugged up and bugged up together, right? As Tupac would say, right? That's the way it works. But see, when you have a weapon, and you may not know I have a weapon, every encounter I get into while I have my weapon with me is a life and death situation. Let me say that one more time. Every encounter I get in when I have my weapon is a life or death situation, whether you realize it or not. What's the example I would use for this particular instance? If you look at the thing where they were saying, as said by Hunter in the first interview he did, standing on the lawn with his mom, when Austin grabbed his bag, when Austin grabbed Anthony's bag and tried to pull his bag away from him, to take his bag to throw it out in the rain, and that's when he just reached up and stabbed him for no reason. When he reached and grabbed his bag, where was Anthony's knife at? It was in his bag. So when Austin was reaching and grabbing at his bag, he was grabbing a weapon, whether Austin knew it or not. That turned that encounter into a life and death situation. That fast. So now we're fighting for our lives, and you don't even know it. This is part of the reason why you hire security. People who are aware, who have training. You don't just get guys who are big to do stuff. Because it's dangerous. The shit is dangerous. Oh, it was a school event. You don't go to school. Everybody go to school. Killers go to schools. Shit. And then we talk all that shit too. Like, 20 years ago, nobody had, they would never fight like this. And people would have more respect. First of all, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't have access to weapons the way they do now. 30 years ago, technically, people who did have access to weapons usually were categorized into a little more heavy duty stuff. Third, we didn't have video games which propagated violence the way they do now. We didn't have the conditioning that these kids have now. We just didn't. It didn't exist. And it's naive for us to think that we, just by us telling these little cutesy ass stories, that somehow it's going to turn back the hands of time and people are going to start approaching violence different. When I was a kid, they used to talk about the Wild West and guys getting together at noontime shooting at each other. Not one person said, I've never heard somebody getting in a shootout at high noon in the middle of the street, remembering what it was like in the Wild West. Because here's the secret, even in the Wild West, they were shooting each other in the back. You know why? Because nobody was trying to get shot. It's so stupid. Like, in the Wild West, they would make arrangements and the guy would walk out 10 steps and they would shoot at each other. No, they shot each other in the back. Ask Jesse James. That's how they got shot. They got shot like they get shot now. They was probably more afraid of getting shot. Because back in the day, you get shot in the arm, they wind up cutting your whole damn arm off. You get shot in the toe and you might die. So no, they wasn't okay with it. I'm gonna open up the lines. I'm gonna let you guys get in because I'll have to shut it down about a half. But yeah, I just like my whole thing is, and there, like, there's another part of it too, where you talk about like, it would have been different if he could have walked away. I wish everybody would have walked away from this situation. I wish everybody would have walked away from this situation. I wish everybody would have acted more reasonably. I wish everybody would have acted with more common sense. I wish everybody would have been more respectable, et cetera, and kids would have lived and they would have survived. You know what I mean? Because I've seen where somebody had wrote to me, you know, one of the most ghetto things in the world is to kill a kid because they touched you or some shit like that. And I say, no, the most ghetto thing in the world, the most hood thing in the world, the most poor thing in the world is for you to die over a piece of property or land or colors or group affiliations that you have nothing to fucking do with. That's ghetto. That's gangbanger shit. When you get killed because you want to defend a little piece of territory, who gives a shit if he's sitting under a damn tent? It wasn't hurting anybody. It wasn't hurting you. He wasn't a danger. He wasn't a threat. Who gives a shit? Now this kid's family has to mourn his death for the rest of their lives because Austin went down protecting a tent. That's what I'm talking about. That's where I would be losing my mind as a parent. My kid is gone and dead because he was protecting a tent. There's no honor in that shit. That's like me saying that I'm proud of my son if he joins the Bloods or the Crips and he gets killed defending this street or that street. Especially if it's a house that I'm fucking renting. I don't even own a damn house. I'm renting in the neighborhood. And my son is no longer here because he was defending some street corner. Because he didn't like the outfit that this kid was wearing or the colors he was wearing or the neighborhood he was from. That's a dumbass reason to die. Stupid ass reason to kill somebody, but it's definitely a dumbass reason to die. And if we're so upset about this, and that's what trips me about this trips me out about this whole thing. If we're so upset about the injustice of it all, we should be upset about that part of the injustice too. This kid died for nothing. He died for nothing. Protecting a tent and because of his ego. And I do all these like videos about guys coming up and men and this, that, and other, and how we're doing men and how men are being let down. That's a letdown. Teaching a man that the only way you could be a man is if you stand up and you willing to fight and die for something stupid. This whole thing is unnecessary. What is this? Isn't Texas one of them states where you can stand your ground and have any type of weapon? Texas is actually an open carry state. 1, 2. The whole thing with Karmello Anthony, there's a couple points that I would even make as far as that's concerned. Is one, it is a stand your ground state, so you have no obligation to retreat or de-escalate a situation. 2, Texas is, Texas is crazy, and so many other ways too. Like if I was going to murk somebody in Texas, what kind of bothers me and what kind of made me give a little bit of a side eye is that people say, "Oh, Karmello Anthony was looking for problems. He was there trying to start a fight. He was trying to create a problem." If he was there to hurt people, why did he only stop with one? Like if he was a master killer and he said, "Bam," and he got Austin, why didn't he go after his brother? Why didn't he go after the other 4 kids that were there? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, Texas is leading the pack as far as the DP is concerned. Death penalty is concerned. Texas will knock your ass off. They do not play in Texas. Texas is dead ass. If you kill somebody in Texas, you riding the lightning. That was back in the day when they used to electrocute people. Texas is good for it. So you are in for a penny, in for a pound. You might as well just go to work in Texas because they don't play. Like Texas don't play, and you'll be in the hot seat quick as hell in Texas. They don't do like you on death row for like 50 years. Not in Texas. They signed death warrants in Texas. You know what I'm saying? They will sign them warrants. So, it's and part of the reason why, like, and that was another thing that kind of begs the question too, when they talk about the knife. Oh, the knife was prohibited at school. The reason why he wasn't charged with the knife because it wasn't illegal for him to have the knife. In Texas, you can have a 5.5 blade, fixed blade in Texas. That knife was drastically inadequate for what they're talking about he was using it for. A 3.5, skinny blade, multi-utility knife would not be my choice to go to somewhere and start trying to murk people. That would be the last of my. That's like trying to go somewhere with a Swiss Army knife, call yourself going to do some work. It's crazy. That was another thing. It's just so much. Like, it's just so many things in that, about that whole description, the narrative that they try to push, that just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, that knife was a box cutter for real. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like, it was probably more of a can opener. Like, I knew guys who had bottle openers like that, and it was more like they used it more of a bottle opening than they ever used for like actual knife stuff. I think it had 6, like, because it's a Ozark Trail knife. It was on Walmart. Like, I have it, like, because I did the research on it. I found the knife. It's got like a window breaker. Like, so if your car gets flipped over, or whatever, you can bust the window out. It's got a flashlight. Flashlight. It's got a fire starter, a cord cutter, so you can cut rope or string. It's got like I said, a bottle opener. And of course, it had a knife, the 6-in-1. But there's this guys here in Texas who used to drive their trucks to school with hunting rifles in the back. Not once did we have a school shoot. Yeah, well, I mean, but there's also, in respect to that, Wendy, I think that like, especially in the South, because like I said, I'm not shy about saying I spent a good amount of my youth, especially in the summer times, in the South, like small town South. Now, I'm not talking about like big city South, small town South. And you would see guys with hunting rifles and stuff, and kids would have access to those types of weapons. But I think that the very subtle difference was cultural. It was a cultural difference because they grew up with the weapons. 1, 2, they were taught to respect the weapons. 3, they had access to the weapons, but they understood the purpose and the dangers of the weapons. A lot of times when you get into the North, you get into like bigger cities, firearms become a secret. They become a secret. So the parents will hide the weapon. They won't tell the kids that the weapon is in the house. They never teach them about the weapon. So when the child goes through the parent shit, which kids do, they find a weapon, then all of a sudden it's the most curious thing they've ever discovered, right? And that's how you get kids who are playing with guns and want to having terrible accidents with those weapons. One of the things, like when I went to tactical, like, as part of a thing I was a part of. And one of the things that one of the instructors had told us when they were talking about it, like storing weapons and the weapon safety, was that when you have kids, especially, you should be the one to introduce your children. If you're going to have it in the house, you should introduce them to that weapon. And people who don't like guns will say, no, you'll never tell them. The reason why you tell them is because you want to strip the mystery out of it. You tell them straight up, like, this is what it is. You feel this. And if they have, especially if they have toys that they play with, you have the example of their toy, and you have the example of the actual hardware. And you say, you feel the difference between this little plastic ass pellet gun you have, and you feel the difference between this, the smoke wagon. You feel the difference, the weight difference. There's you feel how like yours is smooth and fun, and you ain't gonna cut yourself. You feel all these sharp edges. This is what it's like. This is how it works. This is what it will do. If you ever want to see, and this is one of the things the guy said, and I never forget, he said, you tell them, if you ever want to see it, if you're ever curious about it, You come get me, and whenever you want to see it, I will get it out and I will show it to you. But under no circumstances do you sneak and try to do this by yourself or look at it alone or show your friends. If you want to see it, you come in, you turn it into a thing where it's more of a bonding moment and an education moment, as opposed to I'm gonna try to keep this secret moment. And when you take away the secret, you take away the mystery, they lose interest in it. It's not as interesting or as fascinating, you know. And sometimes they just don't, you know, because Antine said, like, I did this to my son, he never should touch them. They just don't have interest in it because it's not that secret. Like, oh, you know, I saw this on Magnum PI. Oh, you know, showing my age, Magnum PI. Might as well say it's Simon and Simon at that point. But you know, it's just not. You want to strip them of that fantasy. And again, a lot of the accidents that happen, a lot of the death that occurs, I think happens because they don't have a true understanding of what it is they're holding. I am, like I said, I'm not shy about the Second Amendment. I'm not shy about gun ownership or whatever the case may be. But I do recognize faults in both sides of the argument. One of the things that bothers me is when gun owners say, well, people get killed driving cars every day. That may be true. More people die from driving cars. Yeah, but more people also drive cars. And they handle cars more frequently than firearms. One. Two, if you look at the purpose of those two tools, because that's what they are, they're tools, right? The purpose of a car is transportation. Now, do people sometimes get killed, mangled, hurt, disfigured, associating with cars in the effort of being transported? Yes. Do sometimes people use that tool to hurt other people? They try to run them over. Or in the case of Mackenzie Shirella, the crash, use the vehicle as a weapon to unalive people? Yes. But the basic purpose of the car is transportation. You look at firearms. I am not a gun hater. I'm fascinated with guns. I like guns. You know what I mean? To a point. But I'm not a gun nut, but I've fired my fair share, right? Proficiently. The purpose of a gun is to unalive people. We can try to dress this shit up as much as we want. Oh, it's fun and skeet shooting and shooting targets and blah blah blah. If you say that shit and we know you bullshit, because when you go to a gun store, the guy doesn't sell you the new. I remember when the Desert Eagle came out. I'm that old. I remember when the Desert Eagle came out. 50 cal, mag 50 cal. The guy was so proud standing there showing us this damn hand cannon that he would brag about, like, oh, you can shoot through an engine block with this thing. This thing will go through brick walls. It'll do all kinds of damage. You'll blow somebody in the dust. You hit them with this bad boy, right? This thing is a monster. He was saying that because the purpose of the weapon is to kill people. Like that's what it's for. That's why there's such fascination. How many bullets does it hold? How many bullets does it shoot? That's an indication of how many people you could potentially unalive. Because the purpose of the gun is to kill people. And in the second we stop trying to pretend like that's not what it is, we can actually have a conversation about safety and sensible regulations. But everybody runs to their corner and pretends like, oh, it's just for hunting and it's not for safety. And blah, 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 blah. Somebody breaking your house, you don't say, yeah, give me the one that's going to scare everybody. Somebody breaking your house, because technically, if somebody breaks into your house, depending on what kind of house you have, everybody's fascinated right now with the AR-15. In my opinion, if somebody breaks in your house, you're better off with the shotty, with a 12. I mean, you're gonna be doing a shit ton of drywall. You're doing some drywall in there. But it gives you a better opportunity to be able to hit something under duress. It's just a better weapon. And besides, if you're talking about like I don't want to get this too crazy, but if you're talking about prevention, whether you are a gun enthusiast, or whatever, people may or may not pick up what it sounds like when you rack around into a 9mm or an AR-15, MP5. They may not recognize that. I tell you what, though, everybody know what it sounds like when you put one in a barrel of a shotgun. When you hear that shank, everybody know what that shit is. Nobody's sitting there saying, "I wonder what that is." You hear that? I wonder what that could be. Everybody know what that bad boy is. If you want to scare some folks, be in your bedroom and slank, because now they know you mean business. Oh, this dude came to party. No, they turn around because he gonna get one of us. I'm just saying, whether you're excited about guns or not, everybody knows what that is. If it was really about prevention and all that, that's the weapon that you would get. But that's not what people go to. That's not what people protesting. That's not what people are arguing about. They arguing about the AR-15. Why are they arguing about the AR-15? Because it's a superior weapon. No, it's not. They argue about the AR-15 because that's the weapon everybody's focused on right now. Simple as that. I mean, I could give you, I'm not going to do it here, but I mean, to be honest with you, there's a lot of recommendations I would make. If you were trying to go do half the shit that people are doing with AR-15s, part of the reason why they fail is because they picked the wrong weapon. Tactically, they grabbed the wrong weapon. But the AR-15 is popular because that's the one everybody talk about. And that's what I mean. Like the whole idea of like people think it's easy. And I'll even say this. I have friends in law enforcement who have actually had to fire in the line of duty, and they've taken people out. And talking to guys who are rookies when they first start versus somebody who's actually had to make that ultimate decision, and the gulf between the knowledge and awareness of those two actions is incredible to me. Because when they come out of the academy, everybody want to be the one getting the big shootouts and the sliding across the roofs looking like, action heroes and stuff. But if you ever talk to somebody who actually had to do it, and once everything is settled and done, and everybody gives you the accolades, good job, man, you saved us, and blah, 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 did what you had to do, you survived, you got to go home to your family. When that guy goes home and he sits in the car, you don't know what it's like for that guy when he's sitting in the car by himself. And he has to recognize, in that stillness, he has to recognize what he did. You don't recognize the pain that person goes through when he realizes that he took away from that person, regardless of what they were going to do to him or somebody else, or whether he was going to survive or not. He just took everything that person ever was or ever will be, and everything that person meant to somebody else. He took all that away, and he has to deal with it. And that's the reality of where it is. Like, we could sit here and argue about Karmello and them and the justice system and all that. At the end of the day, this is something that Karmello is going to have to deal with for the rest of his life. This is beyond just the years that they trying to put him in prison. This is something he's going to carry. Because there's no going back. You hurt somebody like this, there's no going back. There's no undoing this. There's no take backsies when you take somebody's life for whatever reason. And the thing that I've always said, if you're the kind of person who could take a life and not feel one way about it, you are the fucking problem. I don't care what they were doing. If you could take somebody's life and you have zero problems with it, then you're part of the problem. You are part of the problem. You're a psychopath. Because it should affect you some kind of way. Because it takes so much from you to take somebody's life like that. And if you live in a fantasy world, you think that it's easy, That's fine because that's what we see on TV. I watch TV all the time, TV and movies. And it always amazes me when people write in movies and television that so-and-so gets killed or whatever. And then within 5-10 minutes, they don't even talk about that person no more. So that person technically didn't mean anything to you. The whole reason why you did this movie was because you avenging your friend or your boyfriend, girlfriend, father or mother, but you don't even talk about him. And you there at the end of the movie celebrate. You don't even cry about the loss of your supposed family member and the friends you lost along the way. You just kind of okay with it. That's problematic. And there's, like I said, you just don't know enough. When guys come back from war and they're all messed up, they don't come back from war messed up because they stubbed their toe. They come back from war messed up because they did things that they weren't prepared to do. When you go to training and you out there, like used to love the running to cadence. You out there singing all kinds of crazy shit. You know what I mean? I'm gonna jump out the plane and pull my parachute. That one don't work. Pull my reserve. That one don't work. Look out, ground. I'm coming through because I'm gonna kill everything when I hit the ground. Blah blah blah. And you doing all that crazy talking. They get you all hyped up. You be running for miles, just singing these songs and stuff, brainwashing yourself, thinking it's you the one. There's a difference between you running out down that mountainside and shooting them paper targets, and then you actually taking somebody out of here. That's where you get messed up at. And then, like I said, when I first started this live, that was my biggest problem with how they were doing a lot of these issues. Because if I believe that the teachers set Austin up to be a security force, number one, world security, they put him in a situation where he's twice Karmello's size. And again, people try to play this shit down. This makes a difference. Everybody has this fantasy. I'm gonna take a quick break. Everybody has this fantasy and this story about, oh yeah, well, I mean, size, it don't matter because it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. Everybody has that little bullshit story. I've seen where like a little dude jumped on top of this big dude and whipped his ass. Let's take a step back from that for a second. You know why that's a big deal? Why that story is amazing? Is because that's not typically what happens. What typically happens is you have a guy who's 60, 70, 80 pounds heavier than another dude, and he destroys that guy. That's what normally happens. So it becomes a story that the small guy actually won the fight because ordinarily he should be going to the hospital. That's why it's a story. That's why it's a story. But let's say that, Austin is twice Karmello's size and he gently pushes Karmello. A gentle push for a big guy to a small guy is not gentle. Those bleachers were wet. Suppose Austin would have gently pushed Karmello. He had lost his balance. He'd have cracked his head open and died right there on that sidewalk or on that under that bleacher. We would now be sitting here talking about Austin going to jail for 50 years, 30 years for murder. It's just circumstances and timing. And that's why I'm saying, like, if I was a parent, you put my son in that position where if he puts his hands on somebody and it results, especially like, look, guys, I said this in my last video and people got pissed at me. But if Karmello is there, Austin's asking him to leave. If Austin reaches out and tries to take property belonging to Karmello, especially if he has a certain level of money in there, that's called robbery. In Florida, that's a felony. Not Florida. In Texas, it's a F2. It's felony robbery. What happens, legal beagles, if you are committing a felony and someone dies in the commission of that felony? There's a term for that. Yeah, that's right. It's murder too. Felonious murder. If you're committing a felony and somebody dies directly because of or indirectly because of said felony, I'm committing a felony. I break into somebody's house. Old lady come down the street. She see me down the steps. She see me in the living room holding her favorite cat, and she kill over from a heart attack. It don't matter how many heart attacks she had. She could have just got back from the hospital. I'm going to jail for felony murder. If he pushes that boy and he falls out, that'd be manslaughter. Not if he's committing a felony, which is stealing his bag, taking his bag, depriving him of full use of his bag, his property, would be a felony. It's robbery. He was robbing them. It don't matter. They don't give a shit why you were doing it or where you were going to put it. Or I wasn't taking it. I was just going to put it in the rain. Cops don't care. This could have went any number of ways. And like I said, there's a point where we have to look at it and be honest about it. How much bullying do we tolerate before we start standing up saying something? Just because the parents are difficult. You have that issue with the Mackenzie Cirilla case. You know, part of the reason why she thought she could run this boy into a damn brick wall was because every time she got in trouble, her parents went in and yelled at the teachers, and the teachers didn't want to say shit because they too afraid that they gonna lose their pension. So it's just easier for them to let the shit go. And then it builds up a certain tolerance for these kids to think they can get away with whatever they want to get away with. And it puts them in a position where they find out the hard way that the world don't care about you. And I see the comments and stuff. You know what I mean? I see the comments. People are pissed off and oh James, why are you talking about this stuff? I get it. Oh, somebody died. Yeah, somebody did die. He died for a dumbass reason. And this death was completely preventable. And not just because, oh, well, if Karmello would have never had a knife. What if he didn't have the knife? Can we ask that question? What if Karmello didn't have the damn knife with him? What would the outcome have been? What's his name get to push him around and shove him or punch him? Oh, Karmello probably would have left. Yeah, but at the same time, if Karmello was 6'7", well, fuck it. I'm going to say it like I'm going to say it. If I was Karmello at 17, 18 years old, I guarantee you that shit would have been different. I wouldn't have had a knife on me, but I would have wore Austin's ass out. I would have wore his brother out and them three boys. And I'm not speaking just hypothetically. I'm speaking from experience. I'm telling you what I would have done because I have done it. I would have wore them motherfuckers out under that tent. Are you crazy? You gonna put your hands on me? Oh, you somewhere you don't need to be. You need to go. Okay, well, I'm not gonna go stand in the rain. Oh, well, you leaving here, son? I bet you I'm not. Oh, I'm gonna come over and put my hands on you. Don't do that to yourself, because I'm telling you right now, you're making a mistake. I will wear your ass out under this tent. I'll beat the brakes off you. I will beat the brakes off you. And then we could do the whole like old school, fighting shit. I'm telling you. There's no way in the world like that shit wouldn't have, like I'm not even gonna sit here and pretend. Like that's why I'm so amazed when people say, oh, he just gently pushed him. I don't give a shit. You don't put your hands on me. I don't know where people are from or who you grew up with where people can just manhandle you and treat you any old kind of way they want, and you just supposed to comply and take it. No. We don't do that. We don't do that. So if it would have turned into a fight or a struggle and somebody would have seriously got hurt, would you want to look at me and be like, oh, well, it's James's fault because he was asked to leave? No, it's his fault because he put his hands on me. If you want me to leave, go get the cops. That's what civilized people do. If you have a problem, you pick up the phone, you dial 911. They have a whole organization whose job it is to take care of this situation, this types of situations. This is this is the same shit that you see all the time with somebody in the pools or whatever. Like somebody swimming in the pool and some member decided they don't belong there, and then they're gonna kick them out of the pool because they don't recognize them, and then they try to pick their shit up and throw it over the fence. I saw one lady, she was talking to the kids, like a family was there. The lady lived there with her kids, and because the woman didn't recognize her, she'd come over and tell them that they gotta go because she don't know who she is. Like she's a damn welcome wagon. And then when the lady's like, no, I live here, you can back up. Well, where you live? None of your damn business. And a woman starts talking to the kids, hey kids, come on out of the pool. You don't talk to my kids? Yeah, what? Who raised you? I'm security world. Who raised you? You want to sit there and try to tell my kids? I tell my kids all the time, especially when they was little, you don't be talking to strangers. And if I tell my kids to stay where they at, and then you come back and tell my kids to get out of the pool, we're going to have a whole problem. We're going to have a whole ass problem. And why should I tell you where I live, what my name is, what my address is, what my move-in date is, what my apartment number is, and I don't know who you are or what authority you have? Make that shit make sense. Austin didn't come there with a security jacket on. Hell, from what I could see, he didn't even have a memorial uniform on. So he's just a kid walking up telling you gotta go. Like, this thing has all kinds of problems in it. But I'm gonna give Carmel Kitties a shot. Hey, what's going on, girl? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
This is a risky topic, and I might lose some fandoms when it comes to my opinion. But I'm going to say my disclaimer, and I'm going to try to remain as calm. It's not like how I get hyped up when talking about sister wives, right? But my disclaimer is I'm not going to focus on the race aspect, which a lot of people have been trying to do, right? But the caveat to my disclaimer is this. Switch and reverse roles. Had the twins been the littler guys, and Karmello had been the bigger guy in this situation, would the outrage still be the same? Now, I've shared with the channel, with the members on a Saturday, how my son, who is the gentle giant, right, was jumped by a set of twins a couple years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? It wasn't raining. They weren't on bleachers. Sort of same situation, only it was in reverse. They were Hispanic. My son is Black. They were smaller. My son was the bigger kid. Long and short, my son didn't have, because, in California, you can't have no type of weapon. You just can't. Like in Texas, it was considered legal. Whatever tool, weapon, poker, however you want to classify it, it was legal for the twins to have it on campus, for Karmello to have it on campus. In California, it would not be. But my son whooped one's ass, and when the brother tried to jump in because his brother was getting whooped, he got his ass whooped, as he should have, right? Mm-hmm. In the instant that my son couldn't fight, couldn't swing, couldn't punch, and decided, I'm not going to stand around while a mob of kids come to my biology class and try to find an adult to go tell, which, mind you, he did 2 days before the altercation took place. The school didn't do anything about it. But had he not reacted and put up his dukes, per se, them boys would have told my son's behind up, right? He might not have made it to a teacher. He might not have made it to the security guard. In Texas, from what I've seen of the case, Karmello was invited, but back it up. It's a public school. It's not a private school.
Right.
Public meaning it's open to any and everybody. Don't matter if you're a student there. Don't matter if you're from the rival school. Don't matter if you live in the neighborhood and just decide, I like track and I'm going to come over on the afternoon and watch a track, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a pedo. You get off on high school students. It's public property. He was invited over to the tent by his so-called friend Eddie, who tried to then throughout the trial say we're not friends, but yet it's many a text messages that disprove that. It's many a pictures out there that disprove that. He was invited to the tent. Now, when the twins decided that they didn't want whomever over there and wanted to walk up and act extra tough and be like, get the hell out, you gotta go, they should have turned and gotten an adult. They didn't.
Right.
Do I agree with using a weapon versus taking an L and just getting your ass whooped? No. But I do agree, as a parent, I teach my kids, if somebody hits you, they come after you, you mollywop them. But I don't agree with the fact that people are like, well, he should have just got up and left. Well, if Austin and Hunter would have just shut the hell up and left him alone, the whole incident might not have happened. But that's a subject nobody wants to talk about.
Well, I would even take it, because I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%. Let me right off the top. Because there's a few people who could have walked away and this situation would have resolved itself. But I would even go as far as this. I've seen situations, and even when I've talked to my kids about self-defense and defending themselves, what I tell them isn't just, if somebody put their hands on you, you do what you got to do. I tell my kids specifically, not pacifically, but specifically, I tell my kids that it's not just about you walking away. It's about you being able to walk away safely.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to leave the situation safely. So if Karmello was to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be out. But then you have three guys who are behind him that decided, oh, no, well, it took you too long to get up off your shoulders when we told you to move. You wasn't moving fast enough. Then you can't, it doesn't matter whether you decide to leave. Because at the end of the day, the way actual violence works, it doesn't matter whether both people agree to be peaceful or not. If one person says, okay, you know what, I'm going to go in peace, and one other person says, no, you're not, you are now fighting.
Right.
That's the way violence works. That's the way it works in the streets. I've heard people say, and I don't want to belabor the point, I'll throw it back to you, but I've heard people say that Austin said, I'm not going to fight you over a 10 or some shit like that. It don't matter what you say if you're putting your hands on me.
Right.
How many times, if you've been in any real situations, have you seen somebody say, hey, man, I ain't going to touch him. Just get off me. Back up a little bit, man. I'm cool. And they say all that shit because they plan on trying to get a clear path to get to your ass. Come on over here, man. I ain't going to hurt you. They plan on hurting you. People say all kinds of shit right before terrible things happen. I've never been a dude who do some Billy Jack bullshit where I tell a guy, I'm going to take my right foot and I'm going to run it across the left side of your face. You know what I do? I keep quiet and then I'm going to do it. And then once I do it, you're going to figure out that we fighting. When
that part. That part.
That's how
I don't think I've ever told somebody I'm going to slap the shit out of you and then slapped them. I just did it.
I'm going to give you this warning because you're a nice guy. No. You try to strike fire on their ass and then they'll figure it out. That's how it works. That's the way real violence works that way. TV violence, you monologue the shit. I'm gonna come by. When I see you, I'm gonna get you, and your days is numbered, sucker. That's how violence works.
Yeah, he pushed him, and a push should never be met with that type of force to unalive somebody. I've heard different accounts. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the tent. From the videos I have seen, They're grainy, it's blurry. But from witnesses who were at the scene, right, the day in question, said that one of the twins did some type of like football maneuver once they started the start part of the tussle rustle fussle, and then people saw blood, and then Karmello took off.
Right.
So I don't care what sport Karmello played. He was 5'11", 130 pounds when wet. Just the twins alone. I'm not even going to talk about what other spectators they mobbed up to the tent with, right? Because they weren't in the tent when Karmello first got there. They came up later. But they took his bag. Supposedly they took his phone. And they pushed him. All that says to me, in a state where stand your ground is allowed, he stood his ground.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, a child lost their life. I'm not insensitive of knowing that fact. I sometimes wonder when I hear a lot of people be like, oh, such and such gone too soon. Oh, they left when, it wasn't their time. I don't know. I don't know what the universe, what God may have done. He might have ended the fight and went home that night and just didn't wake back up. We don't necessarily know. But he's no longer here, right? Parents had to bury their child. But from some of the interviews I've seen, from all the stories that have now come out and come to the limelight, the twins were somewhat of a bully.
Right.
There's a cheerleader who came out and said that they were threatening her and doing things to her. Supposedly, one of them had gotten suspended for writing racist graffiti on a wall. Like, hell, hearing what the dad said, and people are like, well, he's grieving, he's this. I never once heard Tamir Rice's mom, who was grieving, come out and say some racist, ranted bullshit that Mr. Metcalf has said in his form of grief, right?
Yeah, that shit he thought about. Because the stuff he was talking about had nothing to do with the Karmello Anthony case or his family. It wasn't even, half of it wasn't even applicable to Karmello Anthony's family.
That part.
But
so these are the conversations when people talk about the case they don't want to talk about. And again, I'm not trying to focus on the race aspect. I'm just dropping little key nuggets that have happened since. I don't know if you know that Mike Howard released an affidavit in regards talking about, I guess, what happened the day in question when he rested, whether Karmello was going to testify or not to his own defense. And in listening to the affidavit that was put out there, that statement, it sounded like it was some corruption throughout the trial, and it wasn't a fair trial, which anybody who had eyes and paid attention throughout that shit would have known. We didn't need to hear the stuff from the affidavit. I could have told you that off bat. But the whole situation, I feel, shouldn't have happened had them twins probably, fuck it. I can't, I'm trying not to be insensitive. They parents enabled their badass behavior. They parents got badass behaviors themselves, right? Let's just shit. One of them twins supposedly broke the dad's nose or arm or one body part because the dad was, roughing up the mama. Yeah, and the boys stepped in and handled as they should. I ain't even mad at that. But if we're going to talk about characteristics of everybody involved, Karmello was not the aggressor. And in no way, shape, or form can you ever get me to believe he was the aggressor. All because he chose not to get up and walk away. The same way people are saying he should have just got up and walked away. Well, shit, Austin and Hunter should have just left him the fuck alone.
Or got a teacher. Like if you're that pressed about it, you will get authority. There's ways that you teach your kids to handle stuff. And the one disagreement that I would have even with the parents is that kind of what you were saying. You set your kids up for this shit because you made them feel like they could do whatever they wanted to do, and
Hmm.
everybody had to play by their rules. The truth of the matter is that, like I keep saying repeatedly, in actual violence, you don't get to dictate to me how I fight.
Nope.
You don't get to tell me, oh James, that kung fu shit. You can't be kicking any higher than somebody's waist. That's not fair. No, I'm gonna spin kick you and break your ribs. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sneak it under your guard. And I'm gonna break 3-4 your ribs. That's what I'm gonna do. Or I'm gonna try to take out one of your knees because you can't tell me how I can defend myself.
That part.
And just because you're a bigger guy and I have more power and I'm stronger than you, I can't say, well, we're confined to just being able to wrestle. Look, I watch nature channels and shit all the time. And I've seen alligators take down grizzly bears.
Mm.
What I've never seen happen was a grizzly bear walking down the trail and the alligator decides it's going to walk up to the grizzly bear and try to get it. What the alligator does every time is it's an ambush animal. So it's by the water. When the grizzly bear stick his head in the water to get something to drink, alligator jump out, grab the bear, pull it into the water, into its domain, drags it into the deep part of the water and starts spinning around like a top. Because it's trying to it's trying to make the bear fight where it's comfortable. And it can win. That's what these boys were doing.
Yep.
Like I said, that's why you're 6'1", 108 and 160 pounds talking to a kid, or 240 pounds talking to a kid that's 130. You can't dictate that shit. And as far as him having a knife, if he has a knife on him, how long do you have? And I thought about this too. Because I'm not a big fan of pulling weapons on people because I've had weapons pulled on me. I don't like it. And I'm not a fan of this shit. But at the same time, we have to recognize that these kids have grown up in an environment where kids have killed other kids. So at what point does Karmello have a knife, a way to defend himself, that he realizes that things have gone too far and these kids aren't going to just stop at pushing and shoving and punching and kicking? That he might actually get killed. At what point? You understand what I mean? And for me, maybe it's a different point than it is for Karmello, but he might look at it and say, you know what? I'm significantly smaller than these guys. I can only take so many blows from them.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna drop another bomb. Karmello is a lot like my son. He also has epilepsy.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, why does he play football? Because he was cleared by a doctor to be able to play football, where they teach you how to adequately get hit, take a hit with helmet and pads. He was not in helmet and pads. He was not on the football field. He was in some wet ass bleachers in the rain.
That, and the fact that, if we're going to be completely honest and transparent with it, in football, they have rules and they have referees. So if your son or Karmello or somebody in a like situation is experiencing an episode, the referees will stop the game.
Yep.
They will stop the game. If I'm in a street fight, I'm not guaranteeing, if I have an episode, that this guy who's trying to kick my ass, especially if I'm crawling on top of him, I'm ground and pounding his ass into the concrete, that if I start experiencing an episode, this guy's going to be like, whoa, he's having some medical difficulties. He's going to take that as an opportunity to whip my ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And in football, they have a medic on the field at all times.
Right. They have a medical team, and if necessary, they can call and get a chopper down there to get your ass out of there.
Right.
That don't occur in a street fight. So again, like, it's just there's a lot of stuff that, like, because I'm not trying to be, and it comes off as me being mean and nasty, and I get it, to the Metcalf boys and the family, but I don't like the idea of, I'm not a fan of lynch mobs.
No.
And I don't like the idea that just because, we can't talk about this particular instance because you said you lost some fans. I lost a whole bunch of people. I don't give a shit. It is what it is. People got to, you know what I mean? I have an opinion. But when it pushed them down and shove, I'm not going to just stop talking about it because a kid lost their life. And that's the ultimate defense, because that's something that used to be said back in the day, right before they wanted to go down to the jailhouse and string somebody up from a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't care about the details. I don't care about the context. All I know is Bobby Jane or Mary Sue or Tom, Dick, and Harry said XYZ happened, and this person is responsible. So we not enough said, enough talking. Let's go take care of this business. That's a lynch mob.
Mm-hmm.
And if by them talking about race as much as they're talking about race, let's be honest. The race thing is a distraction, because the second you start talking about the case, oh, let's not make it about race. I never made it about race.
That part.
You're the only one talking about race. For most of the people who sit up there and talk about how they don't want to talk about race, you're the only ones talking about race. Because I would have this. Here's the difference between my position and so many of these other people out here. My position stays consistent. If you reverse the roles and it was 5 black guys showed up, 5 football players showed up, and it was a skinny white kid, and they told him he got to get out from under the tent, and that white kid got scared and tried to defend himself, I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, that white kid should have just took that ass whipping. No, I'm not going to say that, because that shit would be wrong. It's wrong no matter who does it. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm just trying to find a consistency. So when shit does happen, we can all understand what the rules are. How about that? Can we understand what the rules are too? When can I stand up for myself? When can I stand my ground?
That part. I heard on the TikTok, and I got to stop going in them TikTok streets because they be having my blood pressure ready to truly hurt somebody. But
wow.
I was on a live, and somebody was like, well, you should teach your kids to walk away. Y'all should teach y'all kids to walk away. And some girl got on there and she said, you know what, sir? This the same shit my grandma heard in the Selma walkouts. You know what I'm saying? In the Martin Luther King days. We, meaning the Black community, are always supposed to turn the other cheek, take the high road, be the ones who, keep it classy, keep it mute, keep it demure, and contain ourselves. When the fuck do all these other communities have to do the same thing?
Where's the expectation?
If y'all expected Karmello to just take whatever was said to him, rudely, unjustifiable, unnecessary, and just got up and walked away, I'm not going to reverse the film just to that point. Let me reverse it a little bit more. When did Austin and Hunter should have just left him alone?
Right.
They didn't have to come up to the tent like a true ass mob. Because again, if the roles were reversed, we'd be hearing about how a mob of thugs walked up on little Billy, the little strong out white kid, to bully him and do all this other stuff. Like, we don't talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Right. Let's have a conversation.
Let's have a conversation.
About that part. Well, they was trying to force him out into the rain. It was raining out there. It clearly was raining like a son bitch.
Right.
And even to that point, like, it's just the fact that, if we're going to really talk about race, let's talk about race. At the end of the day, if we're going to be honest about it, Karmello was put in that situation, and they felt as though they needed to excise him from that tent. Not because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but they feel justified in the Metcalf boys' actions because Karmello fucked around and got uppity. Yep. He had the audacity to tell these kids, I'm not going nowhere.
He didn't know his place.
Tell me where I can be. And because you can't tell me where I can be, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to keep sitting under this tent. Now, all of a sudden, who do you think you talking to, boy? Yep. I told you to get out from under the tent. You got to go.
Yep.
And that's the part that if we're going to talk about, like, if y'all really want to talk about race, we can talk about race. But I hazard to guess that most people who sit there and want to play around the edges of the race talk don't really want to have the racial conversation.
They never do.
Because that's what I heard when he said no. Like, they told him to leave the tent. He said no. And who the hell do we think he is? telling these white guys that they can't force him to leave.
Nope, I heard from grown adults talking about, well, he should have never been there to begin with. It wasn't his tent. Well, shit, It wasn't Hunter and Austin's tent neither. Right. It was their coach. You want to keep it real, like you can't play that card unless you're gonna play it all the way out.
And why I gotta stand in the rain? Like, I don't understand. Like, again, I could almost understand. I could almost understand if Memorial, that's the school that Hunter and Austin was from. If Memorial had a tent and they were struggling to find space for their students to fit under the tent, then I wouldn't like it, but I'd be like, all right, I can see them saying, like, look, if you don't go here, we got to make room for kids who attend the school. I wouldn't like it, but I'd have to eat it. Mm-hmm. What I don't understand is if I'm sitting there and I'm sitting on the bleacher by myself and I'm not doing shit, I'm sitting there looking at my phone or whatever the case may be out of the rain. I'm not hurting nobody. Why I gotta leave? Why I gotta go get wet so you feel better about yourself? Does that give you power over me because I get to stand in the weather? And again, that goes like when we start talking about like speaking of the father doing his interviews, I'm trying to respect the man, but it's hard to respect somebody who's unrespectable. You know what I mean? Because he's standing there saying that we gotta look at their character. To me, that's a person of low character. Because somebody asked me, James, if you saw somebody like that and they asked you to ask Karmello to leave, you would do it. No, I wouldn't. Because I don't know who you guys have been listening to this entire time, these years I've been doing YouTube, but I don't think I've ever demonstrated that I have the type of character where I would go up to a person and ask them to stand in the weather, especially if I have a dry place for them to stand. That's not my character. That's not who I am as a human being. I'm not going to ask a kid, especially I'm a kid too. I'm not going to go up to another smaller child and try to force them into the weather because you're not wearing my school colors, so you got to go stand in the weather. If anything, I might walk up to him, hey man, how you doing? You all right? What's your name? What events you do? I might sit there and have a conversation with him, which I've done before. That's the crazy part. Like I said, I've been to many different places. I've sat and had conversations with full-blown ass skinheads. I've had conversations with people who are part of motorcycle gangs that do not like certain folks, and I'm in those groups. So, and I can sit there and have a conversation with them. Why wouldn't I have a conversation with a kid from a different school? Like to me, it's just I don't know. It's just there's something nasty about it. Like I'm gonna kick him into the weather because I don't even know. And then you come up with all kinds of stories. Yeah, because people were stealing. He's from a richer part of the town in the
right. Yeah. Right. Karmello actually went to a private school. Like he's not the thug that they want. See, here's the thing. And I'm trying not to touch it on race. When it comes to like even the media, they had white supremacists up at the courthouse, from what I'm hearing from YouTubers and other black media that went to Texas to try to, be in on the trial. And supposedly they made it a pure shit show to where it was hard for certain media groups to even get in to cover the story. Because only certain narratives were supposed to be put out there, as we all know, right? Because unfortunately, as the Black community, we've seen this story a time or two too many. And because of that, we kind of knew the playbook as it was unfolding. So it wasn't really shocking to see that this is how things played out. On my end, at least for me, it wasn't. Right. So, only certain media people got fair access inside the courtroom. Only certain media were able to put out whatever it was. So that's why when the post interviews from the Metcalfs came out, I get why it was said and why it was spread so wide often, because look where it came from. But supposedly they wanted to label Karmello as a thug, right? They wanted to say, oh, he was horrible in school. The kid was damn near a 4.0 student.
3.7
There you
GPA.
go.
Captain of both teams that he was on, football and track.
Yep, he supposedly was a bad actor, had a bad attitude. He was cussing at teachers. He was ... Whatever you want to put in that place, right? Because again, this is something that we all have seen time and time again. But you can't put out Karmello's stats, right? Without touching on the Metcalf boys. Because no, they weren't saints. And from supposedly the 21 witnesses, not one of them said they clearly saw Karmello poke the twin, right? But they did say one was aggressive, one was more aggressive. He's passionate. He kind of has an attitude. He's a hothead. He ... Like the list goes on and on and on and on about their character.
Well, because I would even say that they softball the character because of the adjectives they use. Like, because even in that description, they were saying that, oh, he's passionate about the team. He cares about the team. Again, if you flip it around, adjectives matter. And how you describe things matter. Words matter. So you could say he was passionate about it, or you could say that he was aggressive. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference. One, two, when you look at the because even to something that just had it up on the screen. Amy Love said, I don't think it was had anything to do with race. I just think the kids in the tent were unkind bullies and should have treated Karmello with kindness. I really thought I was the only person. My thing is this. Up until recently, until the appeal came through, and I actually read through the appeal, and I saw a lot of the racial dynamics included in the appeal, I wouldn't hang the hat on the racist part of it. I didn't even really want to have the conversation about the racism part because I think that the issues that are concerning this particular case go beyond just racism and black and white. I think it's how we raise our young men, the expectations we put on these young men, the way that we're teaching them how to handle their bravado, their egos. And it becomes dangerous. You put them on a path of destruction by telling them that somebody who doesn't do what you want them to do, the way you want them to do it, it can be a victim. They can catch these hands if they don't do what you want them to do. And if you tell them to do something, they don't do it, somehow that's disrespectful to you and deserves a violent redress of that particular issue. That's a problem. And that's not just the Carmelo Anthony had a knife thing. That's how we teach our young men and set them into the world. The fact that everybody got a problem with bullies, but when the kids are acting like bullies, you guys aren't doing shit about them being bullies.
That part.
That's a problem. You understand what I mean? So I think that there's a lot of room. Like if we really want to have the conversation and we're really serious about getting to the bottom of schoolyard violence and this type of thing and how we can actually cure these issues, we have to get beyond the triggers of just saying, throwing out racism, color. What if the situation was reversed? Actually start talking about the true issues. And because all I see is when they start talking about, oh, this is race and y'all just defending Karmello because he's black, that's because you clearly don't understand what the issues are. You're not trying to understand what the issues are. It's just easier for you to say that I'm on this side or that side because of the color of the skin of the person that I'm talking about or criticizing. And that's not what it is. Because again, if this situation was reversed, I would be saying the same damn thing. When the one boy I had written down in I forget his name. I think he was in Texas too, and he killed his he banged him 4 times because they were fighting in the bathroom.
Bathroom that only got 10 years.
Yeah, Jose Rivera was killed.
But his was premeditated. That motherfucker told people, I'm gonna go do what I'm gonna do in the bathroom.
Yeah, he put that knife specifically to put it into Jose.
Yeah, that was definitely intentional.
Right. And I look at that situation and I say that that situation rose to the level it rose to because that young man didn't have the support he needed from the adults who were supposed to be taking care of him.
All right.
I'm not saying he's right for going to school banging a kid out 4 times. Like I think that shit is kind of crazy. But at the same time, like as adults, we have to take some of this shit on ourselves too, and recognize that when kids are in trouble, that especially at that age, they don't like their whole like it's incredible. Like when you're 20, 30 years old, 40 years old, you break up with somebody, be like, all right, F that dude or F that chick. I'm gonna go ahead and find somebody else. When you're 16 and somebody say they don't want to talk to you no more, it's the end of the world. Yeah, you know what I mean? Everything is the end of the world, and it's such a big deal. And for these kids, like it's hard for them to get bullied and not feel like it's the end of the world, and this all their life holds for them. And as adults, we have to
say that. My son's 16. He'll be 17 on the 25th. Little girlfriend just broke up with him, and he's been so depressed this last week. And last night, I finally had to tell him, and I talked to my kids honest. I'm open. And I said, look here, boy, there's plenty of fish in the sea. And he looked at me like, why are we talking about fish, Mom? Okay, so you don't understand that. I'm going to break it down even more. Pussy come a dime a dozen. You lost this one, let her go. She blocked you, fuck her. There'll be another one in your inbox in a week. And before I knew it, I'm getting texts today. Mom, some girl in my math class likes me. Told you. Yeah. But on the topic of my apologies, y'all. I didn't mean to be so graphic, but like I said, I keep it real, even with my kids. I don't know how not to. But when it comes to bully, like, I do not like that word. I don't, because I feel right now it's one of, like, every time I hear a YouTube video chop down sister wives and you hear, oh, it was such a sweet experience. It was an experience. I'm so sick and tired of hearing the word bully because I feel like it's taken so far out of fucking context now. Everything is labeled as being bullied. And I want a clear-cut definition of what people consider being bullied. Do I feel like 5 big-ass dudes on on a littler kid, because they're not like 18 on a 5-year-old, right? But 5 16-year-olds on another 16-year-old talking shit, pushing, pulling, about to fight, is that being bullied? Yeah, I would say that's being bullied. Is just talking shit to somebody bullying? My day and age, I say hell no. But today it might be a little bit different. Like I've talked about my little cousin who's overly sensitive, and because a kid didn't want to be her friend, she went and told the teacher that she was being bullied by that kid who just didn't want to be her friend. And I was like, baby, she's not bullying you. Everybody ain't got to be your friend. And you ain't got to be in everybody's face. She has the right to decide if I like you and I want to hang out with you and I want to play with you on the playground. She does not have to play with you. Now, if she tells you, you know, every day you see her and you're like, hey, Susie, do you want to go play? And she's like, fuck you, Stephanie, go eat shit and die. Well, then, yeah, I'd say she's bullying you. Right. But if she just says, no, thank you, and walks away, you're not being bullied.
Well, even then, she has a right, like your feelings, because we kind of saw that a little bit for the Sister Wives people. We saw that with Ariella season 17, where she was saying that she would go to school and she wanted to play with a kid and the kids didn't want to play with her. And somehow it wasn't fair. It's like, look, everybody ain't got to be your friend. Like, you know, just because you want to be my friend doesn't mean I have to be your friend. I still have personal autonomy. I can get to decide what I want to do for myself. You know what I mean? And I think that that's part of it too. And maybe that's a generational thing that these kids suffer from now, where they feel more entitled to other people's time. But
massively,
you got to get over that shit. And as far as your son is concerned, I mean, the truth of the matter is, you know, I used to look at stuff like that. You know, if you break up with people and you feel a certain kind of way about it. But the truth of the matter is, years later, I adopted the mentality and the thought process that sometimes You want something so bad that you don't even recognize that the shit ain't good for you.
That part.
And you are actually being saved by somebody else's rejection of you. Like
Yep.
you feel like, oh man, they all just would have said yes. We could have been so happy together. Sometimes the best thing somebody ever could have given you, the best gift they ever could have gave you, is to not fuck with you.
It's a gift of goodbye. I say it all the time.
Yeah,
And I
they
tell
won't
my
never.
kids, I'm keeping it real. Whoever is meant to be in your life, baby, they gonna show up and they
Right,
gonna show out. You ain't gotta beg, plead, steal, kill, do none of that to them for them to be a part of your life, whether it's another parent, a relative, a friend, a love interest. Who's meant for you is gonna be for you, and they gonna be all about you. Chalk
right.
this one up. I'll let you have your moment to be sad, but once you cried in tears over this little heifer, don't cry no motherfucking more. Move on.
Yeah, excise the demon and just keep it pushing.
Because the gift of
I
goodbye
think,
is
like I
amazing.
said, you go through heartbreak with the people that you shouldn't be with, so that way you can appreciate the people you should be with.
There you go.
You
You
know,
said it. But I mean, but it's the truth. And to backtrack a bit about the whole little, I don't know how I always tend to throw out some sister wife jabs, but, and yes, I know this is a child we're speaking on. Ariella, part of her problem as well is Cody and Robin don't tell her no. And they expect everybody else to cater to what the fuck she wants when she wants it. And unfortunately, that is not real life.
right, right.
Ariella be touching folks in their personal space, and one day she may come across a little girl who ain't as nice as Christine. You know what I mean? Who ain't as nice as everybody else. And she gonna go touch something on that little girl, and she gonna whack the shit out of her.
Or you just, because even with the whole thing with Christine, like the reality of it is that when they was outside and she said, "You need to date more." When there's a thing where I said this shit before. Like the parents used to say when I was a kid, a child need to stay in the child place because you're gonna fuck
That
around and
part.
walk into an adult's mouth. You
That
know what I
part.
mean? And they gonna approach you and say some shit to you that they usually reserve for adults. But since you
That
want to
part.
stay in that slot, then you catching it, and you ain't gonna know how to respond.
And
You know?
you might have been out at the black barbecue in the South. One of them big mamas would have checked your ass. Like,
Yeah,
hold
the
up.
big back chicks will be like, "Go over there, get me a switch. I want to show you something."
Who the fuck you talking to?
Right.
Right?
Well, I mean, if you want to keep it all the way above, I grew up in that generation where the whole room would have stopped. If you had a comment, like if they sitting like, especially Big Mama or somebody, and they sitting around having a conversation about themselves or something that happened, and no, you did, Big Mama. That's not what happened. And you try to correct something, you try to put your little 2 cents in it, the whole room stops. Like, look at this little mother, just tired of living, just walking around, just
It's
throwing his
done
life away.
deal. And then when the room stopped, don't be the one that coughed, breathed a little hard, snickered, made a noise. Because when that switch got pulled, everybody got their ass.
Yeah. Everybody can catch it. That's when you go sit in the corner and mind your business. But that's the whole thing. That's what you learn to stay up out of grown folk business. But at the same time, like it's how you teach your kids. Because even with what you said about Ariella and the Brown family, to bring it back to the Metcalfs, if you teach your kids that they can go to school and they can bully and they can yell and they can scream and you always have their back, no matter how wrong they are, then you're teaching them something. And you're setting them up because I've said it before a million times. In my house, when it comes to my kids, I got all the patience, understanding. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I want to hear the context, the details. I want to know exactly what happened, who said what, when, where, why, who knew what, when. When you cross that threshold, them people on the other side of that door don't give a shit about none of that.
Nope.
They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about your mama. They don't care about your daddy. They don't care about nothing. So when you raise your kids to think that they're the center of the universe and they walk out and they pass them threshold doors, they're going to meet some people who disagree. And some of those people strongly disagree with that notion that you get to treat me any old kind of way because you want to.
Right. I don't know what it is. Like I've had conversations with I don't consider myself a millennial. I think I kind of missed that mark, even though they keep trying to drag my birth year into that fucking equation. But it's something about the way these millennials raise their kids to now those kids, and I don't know where it comes X, Y, Z generation, whomever, but them 2000 babies on, they have a sense of fucking entitlement. And again, I don't know when and where the breakdown happened, but it did. And now society is left with a bunch of kids that think we are to cater to this. We are to just give them everything and expect nothing in return. And we can't tell them motherfuckers no. And I'm sorry, what employer can you go to and say, hey, I want to make $80,000 a year, fresh out of school. I'm only going to show up 2 days out the week from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I might pick up a pen. I might turn on a computer, and ain't shit you can do about it but give me my fucking check every week. Don't worry, I'll wait.
Yeah.
None. Not one fucking employer, correct? So you're doing your children a massive disservice to think that the world owes them any fucking thing. They don't. You got to start teaching these kids at young ages, no is no. There's a time and a place for things. You got to work hard for what you want, and you need to earn what you get. But somewhere that message got lost. And it's a generation of kids who ain't understanding that.
Well, again, I think it's just a thing of like, you got to pay what you weigh. And if you, it's the, I guess to a degree, it's a sense of entitlement because they feel like they deserve better. But the reality of it is nobody owes you nothing.
No.
And nobody's going to give you anything. Like that's just the real part of life is nothing is free. If it is free, if it sounds too good to be true, most cases it probably is. You need to check the fine print because you're about to get screwed. And the idea that you're somehow insulated from any responsibility or consequences of your actions is a disservice to you because it doesn't prepare you for dealing with people who have their own stuff to deal with.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they don't have to take into account, like, because I used to say that shit all the time. Like people would call into work. And I remember I had one job. I'll call in. And this is early on before I graduated college. I would call in. If I needed to call out, I would run through the whole list of like all the shit I had to do and why I couldn't come in and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. I get a professional job. And I remember I wanted to call out because I had something going on with my kids or something. And I call up the person I was working with, my supervisor. I'm like, yeah, I got to be out because it. And I went into my whole story, my whole spiel about why I had to take off or whatever. He said, whoa, what are you doing? I said, I'm about to just tell you like why. No, you call me up and tell me you're not going to be here. That's all I need to know. Thank you for calling. You know what I mean? And it struck me at that time, two things. One, they don't need to know why I'm calling out because it ain't like I'm going to tell you and then you're going to be able to counterbalance why I'm calling out and say, no, we really need you. Like, okay, yeah. F my kids, you right. I mean, it's just a surgery. Right. I'm gonna come in there and do your job. Like, I'm not coming. Like that's the first thing. But even the second thing is, you don't really care why I'm calling out, because I could have the most terrible thing, the most terrible news ever in the world, and as far as you're concerned, as the supervisor, is that I'm not gonna be there to do the job that you need me to do.
Right.
You don't care about what's going on with me for real. I mean, maybe as a person, maybe you do. You like me as a person, maybe. But supervisor don't care. Your job don't give a shit, And I think that's kind of one of the things, just realizing that, your problems are your problems. They, like I keep talking about the Mackenzie Shirilla case, the crash person who ran her boyfriend and her friend into a wall. Like at the end of the day, one of the big complaints that her parents have, because they basically did the same thing, they soft coded and rubber shoot everything that she had going on until she fucked around and killed two people.
She did. Yeah.
Their whole thing is her life is now ruined. She's in jail. Here's the thing: the world don't give a shit. Nobody in the world
Not really.
cares if your daughter killed 2 people and she got to sit in prison. Nobody's crying because of that. You guys are missing out on the wonders of Mackenzie being in your life. I'm good with that. You understand what I'm saying? I'm good with it.
I
So-
mean, in all honesty, aside from the 2 that didn't make it from that crash, she where the fuck she need to be. The world ain't missing her.
Yeah.
And that's an evil thing to say because she's somebody's child, and I'm sure they love her. But bitch, where you need to be?
Yeah.
She probably should have been there years before. Maybe she would have got some act right.
Right. Well, because technically she there now and she still ain't acting right. If you
Nope.
can't act right in jail, I don't know what you're gonna do.
Right.
You know, she's bananas. Like,
And I don't mean she should have been there years before, like taking somebody's life years before she did. I'm just saying maybe if her parents had some type of course of corrective action with her ass,
right.
those 2 boys would still be here today. Maybe, but you know, I'm a strong believer in God don't make mistakes. So when it's our time to go, it's our time to go. But
Well, I mean, I think
probably
that in
need to go
itself
in
is, like, again, because I take some of that as lessons for young men. Like, you have to, just because you're with this person, if the situation, do what everybody else do. If the situations was reversed and you had a man who was talking to his girlfriend the way she was talking to him, everybody would be sitting there saying, these are red flags on why you need to get away from him because he is dangerous. Right. But because it's a reverse gendered situation, all of a sudden it's, well, I mean, she's smaller than you and you're the man and this, that, and other. We as men have to take care of ourselves the same way we would sit there and criticize a woman for staying in a relationship for too long or whatever the hell we do. We have to take those same notes for ourselves and recognize that sometimes when it's time to be out, you got to be out. And it's a safety issue. You know what I mean? Because she was doing enough crazy stuff to where he should have cut that relationship a long time ago. He never should have been in a car with her.
Right.
And again, I'm not victim blaming. I'm just merely saying, like, I don't want people to feel like you have to put yourself in these bad, shitty situations because, if you don't, somehow you're a bad person. Like, no. I talk to my son now, like, he got himself a little girlfriend. I be giving him like little tidbits about stuff, not trying to break them up, but just trying to, keep him the game.
Yeah. As you should.
Yeah.
As you should. Because
she start acting like this. My big thing is, like, she hasn't done this, in fairness to her. But I tell him, like, early on, like, especially now that you with somebody, this is stuff I told him before, but now that you with somebody, if you talking to a young lady and she's lying to somebody and she's telling you how she's lying to that person, recognize that she's a liar. You understand what I mean? And if she'll lie to you, she'll lie with you, she'll lie to you. If she'll
be extra careful because she may lie on you.
Yeah, she'll cheat.
And not girls
yeah, that's true too. Because she got a problem with the damn truth. And so, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
like,
but in those cases, you got to be careful. So young girls will try to say when they ain't getting their way, God forbid he gets to a point where he's like, this isn't working out. We can just be friends. And she don't like that. She could easily say, well, he touched me inappropriately. And now his whole life could be ruined because she's a liar.
Right. Or she pulls Mackenzie's Karmello and try to put you in a wall.
That part. If I can't have you, no one can.
Right. Right. And I think that's what, if I had to put money on it, that's what happened. I think he was about to break up with her ass and she put him in a wall.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't, like, her mentality couldn't take the fact that he didn't want to be with her.
Right.
So she tried to drive through a damn wall with him in it.
Which is ridiculous. So.
Right.
It's never that serious.
Right. It ain't that good to you. I don't give a shit how good it is. Damn shit ain't worth no freedom.
Nah, hell
and be like, you know what? I want to spend the next 50 years of my life in prison. Because this stuff had me up, rolling my toes up. Shit.
Never. It's been some good It's been some good ones out there, but never
Right.
to that extent.
I'm not
Like
going
I
to
told
prison
my
for it
son,
though. I ain't
they
losing no
come like
freedom.
buses every 15 minutes. I'll find another one. It's okay. It's never that serious. Sorry.
I just
But
remember. That's all. I remember the
right.
time. Had
That
this
I'm
one
gonna just
in
sit
it,
back and smile one day.
Right. You ain't gonna put me
No,
under the
but
jail.
in all seriousness, when it comes to I fell asleep on the crash. I didn't finish it, but I had seen a few court TV proceedings in regards to that case, like start to finish and whatnot, reenactments of how she drove around the corner and like the actual police videos of when they got to the car. From what it seemed like, even with that the boy was trying to break up with her. And
Right.
I guess the night in question, he was on his phone and not necessarily paying her attention in the midst of their argument. So I'm sure that pissed her off royally even more. But I was telling my daughter, I said, I really wonder what in the fuck makes a person just snap like that? Like, what makes somebody just, I'm ending my life, your life, and I don't give a fuck? And she's like, Mom, seriously, they need to study that in the brain because it don't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that you get yourself so hyped up into your own personal stuff as far as that's concerned, that she was tied into the image of having a boyfriend who could afford to do certain things for her. Because again, if she gets put out of like she breaks up with Dom, she doesn't just lose her boyfriend, she loses her place, she loses her status, she loses a lot of the gifts and things that he was providing her. So it's that level of embarrassment, I think, that drove her to a lot of the decision that she made. And then even now, she sees like the popularity she's gaining from the crash.
Yeah, she got prison girlfriends and all types of shit.
And she sees that as a positive because now she can move past Dom and do it without Dom.
I mean, she could have, and Dom's still been here. She just does. I'm sorry. It's many players out there. Trust me.
She wasn't gonna make it. She wasn't gonna make it. Like the only reason why we even talking about, like, if we're gonna keep it all the way a buck, the only reason we talking about Skrella right now is because she put them boys in a wall. She didn't have the like she and this is a dickhead thing to say, and I'm recognizing it. It's an asshole thing to say, but it's true. Like there are certain people when you see them on screen, they have a certain charisma about them that make them interesting to watch. And they used to call it they have it. She does not have it. There's nothing about her to make me go, wow, she's really interesting. I wonder what she's doing. The only thing she has is the fact that she did that thing.
Right. No, I agree.
And I don't be an asshole.
My thing is, though, she didn't know for sure she was going to survive that, though.
No, I don't know if she thought she would. But at the time, I don't think she was planning that far ahead. Like, I think she thought she would be able to knock both of them off. And actually, you know what? To be honest with you, as ridiculous as it sounds, there's a real possibility she didn't even think that she would kill anybody, including herself. She might have just thought that, you know, with the safety precautions in most cars, she would be okay. People would get jacked up and she could just kind of move on with life. And then she'd be able to hold it over Dom's head that, you know I'm crazy and you ain't leaving me and that kind of thing because, you know, they ain't wrapped too tight. A lot of these teenagers ain't wrapped too tight when they that young. They just don't think about consequences and the reality of it. I think that's part of the problem. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if she was really trying to take herself out of here. You know?
Because, I mean, anytime you drive, anytime you drive, period, there's always the possibility. I done heard folks dying in a crash and they was only going like 40 miles an hour. But you run that risk, period. I don't know. That's just crazy.
One of the most dangerous things you can do in your house is take a bath and walk down the steps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just dumb shit. Like, people get killed doing dumb shit. Like, it's not like, oh, somebody gonna break in your house and wipe your family out. No, you gonna try to get out of the tub, you gonna slip, fall, hit your head, and that's it. I mean, next thing you know, you talking to grandma. Grandma, I thought you was dead. What happened? You know, that's how that shit work.
Yeah,
Why am I naked? You know, because you was in the shower, baby. You done told you to put that rubber down.
Told you stop walking around the house barefoot. Look,
Yeah. You know what I mean? You still mess around, step on the Lego, and down the steps you go. Like,
Wait.
that's
I'm
the way it
just
works.
saying. I don't know. I don't like being in pain, and I don't. I've always realized, and maybe I was just a little wiser for my time as a teenager, that if I'm around somebody and they make me mad enough to want to put my hands on them, I need to get the fuck away from them.
Right.
And
Well,
not just move physically away from them. I mean, like, again, my greatest gift to somebody is the gift of goodbye. My block game, my cutoff game is real strong. I didn't talk to my own mother for 10 years. Like, I don't have a problem telling somebody to get the fuck on. And if you make me mad enough to the point where I'm like, I could just put my whole fist right in between your eyebrows, I gotta go. Because I don't like, one, being that upset because I can control my anger, but if I ever get to a point where alcohol comes into play, you know what I'm saying, outside factors come into play where I won't be able to control myself, then I don't need to be around you. Because I enjoy my freedom way too much. I ain't never been to a jail. I don't even play kinky games with handcuffs because that shit is too close. I like my freedom.
right. Well, I mean,
I don't understand how folks can allow themselves to get that mad to this is the end result.
Right. Well, I mean, there's just a real point that if you allow yourself, if you allow people to come into your life and affect you that way, you're giving people control over your life. They're making decisions for you. Because if they can say the wrong thing or the right thing or the time at the thing at the right moment, and they can change the entire trajectory of your life, they have too much power. You know what I mean? And that's why I say, like, I peace out. In that situation, it's not because, you know, I'm afraid or whatever. I just peace out because you don't get to dictate what I get to do later and how far I go. You know what I mean? You don't get to take the pen from me and write the history of my life because you're not looking out for my best interest anyway, because that's why you piss me off so much.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I need to be out. Like, so yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'll cut your ass off and be done with it. I'd rather walk alone than be standing in a group of people who don't like my ass. Let me let you. I got to get Linda in. She just banged up.
All righty. I'm glad I made it today. They sent me for a training and we got out at 4. As soon as I seen the notification, I was like, I'm in this bitch. Nah, I love y'all. I love this community. I've missed the hell out of y'all. You just don't understand.
Well, we miss you. Thanks for coming through. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. I'm in the comments.
All right now. Stay out of trouble, Caramel Cuties. All right, we got Linda in the house. What's going on, Linda? How you doing?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, like I put in the comments, I did not do due diligence about this case because there's a lot going on in the family life. I got like a sick aunt in Florida, a partner's sick as well. I'm waiting for my nephew to be born. Things changing at work. So I haven't even been taking my Saturdays to watch my investigation discovery. Because I have been able to get on with you guys because I've been traveling, you know, you keep me company on the bus, whatever. So I'm like so out of the loop. Like, you know, I haven't been doing my usual relaxing and checking things and solving murders and what have you. But I do have one question because there's only one thing I did. I did when you were first covering it. And I didn't know when I said, oh, my God, I didn't realize. I thought this was some joke where I know I posted it to our Facebook page where the judge is good friends with the Metcalf family. Like there's pictures of them together. And I know I posted it on our Facebook. So I'm not sure if you saw that. But the one thing I wanted to ask, and I don't know if it's because the records are sealed, what have you, but wasn't he charged with murder 1, which is premeditation because he had the weapon? Or did I misread something? That is what I really need the clarity on.
Well, it wasn't just the fact that he had the weapon, but like you can switch the fact that the fact that he had the knife was one of the contributing factors that they used because it became a possibility. But the
That's a
way,
contradiction because that's a concealed carry state, but okay.
yeah, but the way that they, well, because the way they kind of stack it in most jurisdictions, when you have murder one cases, it doesn't require, like a lot of folks kind of assume that it requires you to have like this long period of planning. And that's
No,
not
just
necessarily,
premeditation or whatever.
yeah, the premeditation can happen almost
It
instantaneously.
could happen at the drop of a hat. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what, so basically what they were saying was the second he said, if you put your hands on me, see what happens,
Oh,
then
okay.
that's where you get the premeditation.
So they read into it because I tell someone, see what happens. I cannot have anything. See what happens is it's like don't underestimate that I'm 5'3.5", and I might take your 6'5" ass down. Because my uncle taught us awesome moves. Came home from Vietnam. He was seeing what he was seeing with the racism we had to deal in the neighborhood. He's like, all the kids are gonna learn how to fight, especially the girls. And till this day, like that's how I know how to fight with a knife. That's how I know how to defend myself. So there's a lot of, I guess, conjecture there. They're just putting a lot of words, a lot of meaning behind words that it's not definitive. There's not a definitive definition. Okay, so that's where it's a slippery slope because we could be in an argument and I could say, okay, James, lift your hands to me, see what happens. I cannot have a weapon. But if somehow I tripped you when you fell and you broke your arm, so am I going to be charged with assault and battery? Premeditated because I said, watch what happens. So this is what it's sounding like.
Right. Well, I mean, and there's also just the, I think that there's a point of colloquialism as well, where you are like the way people talk. And
Yes.
so like if one group of people might listen to Karmello's supposed confession, I told him don't put his hands on me and he put his hands on me. They hear that as I challenged him to put his hands on me and
Oh,
I did something about it. Whereas I might hear that and say, look, I tried to warn him, like, leave me alone. Stop. Don't put your hands on me. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because you do have people like I said, not everybody does like street rules. Like the street rule is if you do something to me, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to just do it.
Exactly.
That's
I
usually how
try not to run my mouth. I'm going to give you a warning and this is just going to be one warning.
right.
You're not going to know what to prepare for, but.
Because in most cases, like I used to have a joke about that. Like in most cases, if I'm doing all the wolf talking and I'm telling you like where I'm from and who my people is and who I hang out with,
You ain't shit.
I'm not trying to fight, right?
Yeah,
Because if I was trying to fight, we would be fighting already,
exactly. You're not trying to do nothing.
right? And so like the whole "don't put your hands on me," to me that sounds like somebody who's not trying to fight.
Yeah, just leave me alone. Like
Right.
I'm gonna let it rock. You can say whatever you want to say as long as you don't put your hands on me. And that's what I say. Say whatever you want. Call me whatever you want. Maybe to a certain point, I'm gonna let it rock. But the one thing I'm not gonna let it rock is if you put your hands on me. It's a wrap.
Right. And especially if I'm trying to insist, and this is where, like I said, difference of opinion, maybe difference of mentality comes in. If I was actually trying to hurt somebody in that situation, like if I'm in Karmello's spot and I'm trying to hurt somebody, I wouldn't tell them not to do something that I hope they do. Because the second they do it, I'm gonna do what I want to do anyway.
Yeah.
So
But
you just
that
open the
sounds,
door. I'm not gonna
like
say shit about it.
I just want to know, A, where were the adults? Where were the coaches? Why was this kid left in charge of the tent? Like, where's the sportsmanship?
Yeah, he wasn't left in charge on the tent. That was bullshit.
Or whatever. Like, where's the sportsmanship? Where's the looking out for each other? Like, it just sounds to me, just from what I got from just, the little bit, it almost sounds like these kids were just used to bullying and you had a fuck around and find out moment. And now some kid is in jail because you were going to be,
Yeah, you
a
Billy
product of
Badass.
your environment.
You Billy Badass. But at the same time, like the one
It's a
thing
loss. Any way you look at it, it's a terrible loss. And no one wants to take, none of these adults want to take responsibility.
Well, because the thing that bothers me about the whole thing is the determination in which they just walked up to him. Like that didn't like the whole thing rubs me the wrong way because they came from Austin and his brother and his three buddies came from the middle school, which wasn't close to where the tent was. So they like, there's no reason for them to think that there was somebody under the tent because they weren't around.
Oh,
And they walked from a different location all the way over to the track and field, and they made a beeline directly up to Karmello, and they started a confrontation.
and they weren't part of the opposing team that was performing.
Well,
they were spectators.
They were part of Austin and his brother and the other three boys were part of the memorial team, which is the tent Karmello was sitting under. But
Okay.
they didn't really participate in cheering on the other team members because they had that's part of the pleading that they have for the appeal is that the coaches are complaining that these guys aren't really supporting the team. They just come out, do their thing, and then they leave. And so one of the things that they asked them, help with the tent and be a leader for the team, be there for the kids who are participating, not just for yourselves. And so it's weird to me that all of a sudden Karmello's under the tent, then these guys just show up out of nowhere and they roll right up to him.
To me, it sounds like it was premeditated on the twin side.
Right. I can't prove it. And that's why I don't really spout it out. But it just sounds very convenient to me that all of a sudden, it should sound like a setup.
Well, it's stuff that we know because we've been in these streets.
Right. That should sound like
we've experienced the racism. Right. We've experienced this. I mean, we can speak from actual experience. I mean, I know I can. I don't know your whole story, but I've said enough of mine where, I could speak to that.
Right. I mean, just the fact that, Karmello had a girlfriend and the one guy who he was sitting under the tent with talking to that said he didn't know Karmello, but they got the pictures and stuff. That's
look
like
that.
A friend.
Look at that.
Huh?
I said, look at that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a friend of his girlfriend or a cousin of his girlfriend.
What?
And if the Metcalf boys, one of the Metcalf boys was interested in that young lady or there was some kind of issue going on with that, they might have rolled up. You know what I mean?
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a total where they rolled up on him.
Right. And that's why I'm like, this shit.
And they need to really study this and they need a really good lawyer to win on appeal. Right. Or get that damn charge reduced if they're so hell-bent on a charge. But it just sounds like they rolled up on him.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, and that's also one of my curiosities as far as people's outrage is concerned, because there's so much anger at the fact that, look at Karmello. He's got like the top-notch lawyers in the state doing his appeal.
They didn't do shit. It sounds to me like these lawyers, they got their hands tied by this judge. It needs to be a different judge. And maybe that's where his freedom might come in. Because like I said, when you had mentioned that, all of a sudden I paid attention to the stuff that was coming on my feed. And one of that is that the judge knew the family.
Right. Well, because even beyond the judge knowing the family, I don't know. I can't prove that either way.
They got pictures. Ain't nothing for you to prove. It's a picture of all of them together. It's an actual photo.
Okay. Well, what I can say is that the judge rushed through a lot of the case.
That was too damn fast.
A lot of the testimony that should have been given. The fact that they had the prosecution and defense had an agreement on how the case was going to be structured, which is not uncommon or unusual, but for the prosecution to later renege once their case is settled and done, for them to renege on their agreement.
No.
Support that is problematic. Then for the judge, based on the strategy that was laid out based on that agreement, the defense, Karmello's team, had to decide whether he was going to testify or not. And the judge tells him, you got 10 minutes to decide.
What?
That shit is crazy. So there's
a lot of impropriety there.
Right. And based on that, I think that's where so many people are like, well, he's got sentenced and he in jail, ain't nothing you can do about it. I don't know.
It's called an appeal, people.
It might get overturned. It might get thrown back. And the fact that the judge did an interview right after the case, which shows he has a certain level of bias, itself might be enough to get him removed from the case if he doesn't, do the honorable thing and step down, which he should.
Well, I'm sure if they do an appeal, I doubt that they're going to have him on the case again. I don't think they do that. I think they switch judges.
Well, the first appeal, you will go back in front of the judge who heard the case.
Oh, that's not going to be a good look.
And then the second part, because they can make decisions on, okay, yeah, I might have been wrong on this or new information.
Really?
Yeah, so you go back in front of the first judge, but because they're putting in for recusal, it will go back. Potentially, it could go back to a different judge, and a different judge might make a different assertion. Like they have
I hope so.
The was the Sixth Amendment complaint. They have the jury complaint. I don't know, like the veracity of the jury complaint, where they eliminated the black jurors because they said that some of them were teachers. It's rumored,
but that's who you want, are teachers, because they would be able to make a better judgment.
Well, they were afraid, according to the cause part of the hearing, the prosecution was saying because they might sympathize with a student because they work with students.
But they were all students. One student committed it and one student was dead. That's stupid.
Yeah, but they might be unwilling to convict another student. That's the excuse they use. However, there's also information that they had white teachers who were sitting on the jury. So if that's the case, that becomes extremely problematic.
That's going to be a problem, but that's so weird. So that was like a case that I got called for. I got called for a case where it was a family suing the nursing home and the hospital because the patient had bed sores. And then once I said, well, I code medical records, both sides wanted me. So when one side interviewed me, they had different questions as well as the other one. And I'm like, for me to make any type of decision, I need to see the complete medical record. There's just absolutely no way, that you're going to present it in a way for me and anybody else to understand, because you hear these commercials with bed sores. We need to know the condition of the patient. Were they inherently going to have bed sores? Was the type, and this is going back maybe about, I don't know, right before COVID. So what is it, 10 years or whatever? 5 years. So like I had all these questions. They both wanted me, and then I ended up getting not chosen. So I get that, because you think I'm going to tell you what you want to hear because it's going to be cut and dry. But then I'm letting you know there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. It's not neglect, And then when I told the other one, well, what was the staffing like? Were they short staffed? Was this, did she need to be one-on-one and they couldn't do? When I started throwing all those questions at them, they're like, neither one of them wanted me. So I get it. But if they kept white teachers and didn't keep the black teacher, then that's just crazy. Right. And even the white teachers should have ruled. They should have known. All these questions should have been in their heads.
Well, because it turns into what's called a Batson challenge.
And it's going to turn into something racial. But by their own actions, they're making this racial.
Right. What I'm saying is that like the Batson challenge would be if you are eliminating somebody because of they're part of a protected group. So if you eliminate somebody because they're black, gay, religious affiliation, things of that nature, and that's the only reason why you're eliminating them, then that opens the door for what's called a Batson challenge, in which case you can get the trial overturned, you can get the verdict thrown out, you might even get a mistrial. Because of
the best thing that could happen would be a mistrial, because then in Texas, it's funny with their laws. They're the only ones where I've seen they've tried someone for murder more than once. Like there was a case that I saw on an ID. Well, but the guy was guilty of sin. He did kill his wife. So
yeah, just because you go to trial, that doesn't automatically create a double jeopardy situation.
That's what needs to be made clear, that double jeopardy.
If you get a mistrial, they can rule a mistrial and then you could start over from beginning. Or you could, if there's such an egregious offense, a judge could say, you know what, especially if it's done on behalf of the prosecution, your offense is so egregious that we're just going to dismiss this case with prejudice, in which case that case can never be tried again.
That would be awesome.
That would be done data. Like if they say we're dismissing it with prejudice, then the case is over. And the only way they could do it again would be if they
found new evidence or something.
Yeah, it would have to be completely independent new evidence that has nothing to do with the evidence that was previously presented.
Mm-hmm.
and that's very difficult, if not impossible. So like that, there's a way around it, but it's almost, it's ice skating uphill, like something.
Yeah, because I don't want to see this kid life, and that would be throwing away a whole future. Like, this is not some gangbanger. This is not some, mentally ill child. This is someone who had his life ahead of him, but he chose to defend himself, and those were the consequences of it. But I do not want to see this kid in jail the rest of his life. That's insane.
Well, because my whole thing is that I can handle, and I've been around a long time. Like I said, I've seen shit. I can handle, being disappointed at verdicts. I've been disappointed at some verdicts my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the one thing that I've always wanted out of any verdict that I hear, it has to make sense to me. And there has to be some note of fairness and justice in it. It just can't be,
Right.
we're going to do something because it makes some people feel good. I don't like that either.
And that's what it is. There's a total disregard for justice in this case. There really is. There's a disregard for justice. They went on hype. They went on emotion. They did make it racial without making it overtly racial during the trial. It was clandestine. It was too fast. I mean, part of it is, yes, you should have an expeditious trial, but Jesus, that went at the speed of light.
Right. Well, I mean, expeditious is one thing, rushed is another.
And speed of light is a whole nother ball of wax.
I get concerned because I think, justice delayed is justice denied. That's an old saying. But I get concerned when it's not just because court cases aren't just about bringing justice, because what is justice? Justice isn't just about punishing the guilty parties, because that's what it would be called. It'd be called a criminal punishment system. It's called the criminal justice system because it's supposed to help to heal the community whom the crime was against. In our system of government, crimes aren't committed against individuals, they're committed against communities, which is why communities, the state, the city that you're from, the federal government is the one who brings the case on behalf of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are rushing through hearings, you are blocking the public from understanding
Absolutely.
what's going on, then that is not bringing about justice.
No.
You understand what I mean? So I would have a problem with this case. Even if I agree with the verdict, I would have a problem with this case in the sheer fact that they hid it behind doors and they rushed it. If I went somewhere and somebody, like if I was buying a house and the mortgage person was like, okay, you don't have to read none of this shit. I'm going to just tell you what it says. This says that you agreed to it. This say you're going to pay them back. This says that this how much you owe. This say what your monthly thing is going to be. Sign here, initial here. We're going to turn the page. That's just moving too fast for me, sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
I need to understand what's happening. You know what I mean? Because if shit go wrong, you ain't gonna be in the courthouse with me. I'm gonna be in there by myself trying to tell them what you told me. And the judge gonna be like, hey, that ain't what they say. I need to understand everything. And I don't trust, like, if somebody rushes you to, like, you gotta buy this now, you gotta get it now, you gotta make a decision now.
Yeah, that's like the snake oil salesman there. Right. Shit.
I never trusted that. So if it's too fast and it's too secret, I don't trust it.
Of course not.
And because we don't trust the verdict, and because there's so little information out there and there's so much misinformation out there, was justice served? And my answer to that is no, absolutely
no.
Not.
And speaking about justice served, did you cover Sharilla, or did we just lightly talk about it? Or are we going to cover that in our true crime?
I got stuff planned for Sharilla. I
got look, because I already told you, I remember seeing that when it first came out on ID. And when that first came out, the reason that the police officers really started looking at us was something that the mother said. And then they just started, they're like, there's no way this is an accident. But when I did see the Netflix thing and I thought it was fluff, and then ID put it on again. And then they added more stuff, I guess stuff that was on the cutting room floor. Mm-hmm. But when I read her injury, she had a lacerated liver, one lacerated kidney. She had was it contusions or damage to both carotid arteries? It's bilateral on either side. But I really think she did a lot to protect herself because she did want to walk away from that. There's no way this little shit wanted to kill herself.
Right.
And the fact that the other boys got the damage because she had a seatbelt on, they didn't. So
Right.
which means that, and I think that I believe the officers concluded that they were trying to stop her. So they got full impact. They got 110% impact. She didn't, because then the what is it, deployed the I don't drive anymore. One of them damn pillows that come out. What do you call them? There you go. The airbags. I couldn't say the airbag. Look at me, pillows coming out. The airbags deployed. So I think this girl kind of calculated her risk. I'm going to go on record as saying that, but oh yeah, we need to get in that. I got to do a rewatch and all that stuff, but I'm going to try to see what could be found. But if the records of, when are the records of Karmello's case supposed to be released? Is that information there on any official, the court website?
The transcripts from the case have not been released. The video evidence that they were talking about, they released that in segments to news organizations. If you want to see what I looked up and was able to find through the county website, was the motion for appeal, the pleading. And so in the pleading, that's where you get a lot of the information about the historical past of the Metcalf's behavior, because they list, and this is what I need people to really understand. When attorneys fill out pleading documents, they aren't just filling out stories and things that they think could have happened, maybe could have, would have, should have.
No, it's facts.
They are putting their licenses and their livelihoods
on the line
because they have to verify that every piece of information that they are forwarding to the court, they're testing as far as they know is true. And so when they put things in pleadings, as far as we have, they have several, actually maybe half a dozen or a dozen witnesses who are willing to testify that the Metcalf boys were bullies and they made threats, that they were about to get kicked off the football team for fighting. And they had example after example after example after example of those things. And they're naming names. That is a serious thing. Like, this is not like like people are going. And what upsets me with this whole thing is that because of the racial aspect and everybody's using that as a distraction, and people are so confident and unwilling to listen to any other side of this story that they don't like, somebody is going to get their feelings hurt. Because if this case goes the way it probably should, and I'm just going to be fair about it, if this case goes the way it probably should, he should get a retrial. And if he gets a retrial, there are going to be people who are pissed off talking about how this is only happening because he's a little black kid and it's not right. That's not the case. If he's granted a retrial, it's because he deserves a retrial.
Absolutely.
This case was mismanaged. Full stop. This case was mismanaged like a motherfucker. Like, from the respect of you dealing with prosecutions. If I come to a prosecutor, like if you say that a prosecution comes to an agreement and how they're going to conduct a trial with a defense attorney, and then they later renege on it, even if you take the position that a prosecutor has every right to do it, if you set that as a precedent, especially from the judiciary side, saying we will not enforce deals that are pushed forward by prosecution, that will grind our criminal justice system to a halt.
Yeah.
Because nobody is going to enter into an agreement where a prosecutor can say, I will give you, if you come in and testify against Big Joe Bob, the boss man, I'm going to give you immunity and I'm going to give you witness protection. You go in there and testify and say, you know what? F that, we backing out of it. So you just got, and we're going to prosecute. So you're going to put me in jail and you're going to get my family killed?
Yeah.
There's no way I'm cooperating with you. You'll destroy our criminal justice system because guess what, y'all? Angels aren't in the deals with the drug dealers.
No.
People ain't planning murders with murderers. It's bad people working with bad people. And sometimes in the criminal justice system, you got to make some shitty deals with bad people in order for you to get worse people. And if you tell a prosecutor that they can start pulling deals, or more to the point, you tell a defendant that their deal ain't worth the paper that they have next to the toilet, then the deal stop. And our criminal justice system will grind to a halt. So from that respect, I can see them overturning it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I can see it going back just because of that one thing.
Yeah.
And if it goes back, are people going to lose their minds and talk about how it's not fair?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you didn't do a little bit of research. I'm telling you, like, the appeal stuff is available on the website. And in addition to them having the appeal pleading where they list all the information as to why they're appealing the case, they also have exhibits where you can watch the Metcalf boys come in, watch Karmello sit down, and you watch the Metcalf boys come in and Austin run past and all that and run up into the damn bleachers. You can watch all that. You can also see the text messages between the coaches who are talking about Austin and Hunter not participating in the sports properly, and them getting kicked off the team, potentially getting kicked off the team because they're not team players.
Okay.
You can see where people have made the assessment that the coach had asked Austin to be the security guard for the tent. That never happened. What the coach asked him was to make sure that the tent was set up, and then for him to be a leader on the team. So basically, we want you to
That
stick
means
around.
you act with kindness, and you act with kindness. That's what being a leader is.
Right. You stick around and cheer for guys who are a part of sports or events that you're not playing. You know what I mean? Support your team. That's being a team leader. That's the conversation they were having.
So my question, as you're talking, like the scenarios are hitting. So the young man that said that he wasn't Karmello's friend, but he is either the cousin or whatever of the girl he's dating,
Right.
right? And one of the twins was interested in this girl.
Well, I don't know. All
right. So we don't know that. But what if this cousin was not happy with this arrangement and he's the one that incited the twins to start this fight, not knowing where it was going to go?
Right. Well, because I mean, in foolish.
Because teenagers do stupid shit.
Right. Especially, well, I'm saying like that's where I was going. Like kids don't really have a whole lot of foreplanning. So he might have looked at it like, I'm gonna get the two big guys, and this is one of the things that I keep talking about, harping on, because I've been a big guy for a long time.
Yeah, you're gonna get, and I know. So I could reverse it on you. I used to have to get the big guys sometime because one time I got hurt, and the big guys are like, the next time you're gonna fight someone, get me. But he could have gotten the big guys to beat up Karmello, make him look stupid or weak, so his cousin could leave him.
Right. Or you just get, you call the big dudes. Oh, we're gonna go down there. He gonna embarrass.
Yeah, you call the big dudes.
But people will put you in, because you're a larger person. They will put you in situations where things
always
happen to you. And in this case, because they're not necessarily particularly, it's not that they're not looking out for you. They just don't consider the fact that, okay, well, maybe Karmello, today is the day he's not taking no shit. Today is the day he has a knife in his bag, and he ain't the one.
Exactly.
And you send them down there to slaughter, and that's that very well the case. I never imagined that Karmello would have stabbed him. Yeah, but I mean, if you send him down there to fight him, like, did you think Karmello? And this is where I challenge anybody. Do you really think 130-pound guy is going out of his way to fight a guy who's 6 foot?
No.
240. Like that, like it's ridiculous to me that, oh yeah, he was just under there looking for trouble. If he was looking for trouble, why would you pick a fight with the biggest guy in the damn place? This ain't a prison.
Ain't no way in hell. No way in hell. Sorry.
He might not be. Maybe he ain't the last guy you stab. He sure the shit wouldn't be the first one.
No.
You know what I mean? That shit don't even make no sense to it.
It doesn't.
So I'm looking for that explanation, but like I said,
yeah, I think that a little bit. There's a lot more to that than meets the eye. That smells like a roll up. I'm telling you, that's a roll up. That's a roll up, and that's a roll up.
If it happened to me, I'd be looking around my crew. Like I'd be looking at my people, because like all of a sudden I'm just sitting there chilling, and then out of nowhere 5 dudes just roll up on me, starting talking some bullshit.
Nah.
Ain't nothing. And you know what? And I'm gonna even take it a step further.
Okay.
Because when you've been around, you've seen shit, you know shit.
Yeah, I have.
If you have ever been in a situation, I remember my dad distinctly telling me, James, if you somewhere and somebody walk up to you and say, hey man, what you looking at?
All the fucking
You
time.
might as well just go ahead and fire one off in his face, because there's no correct answer in that question.
You know, that's the setup right there. What you're looking at. Oh Lord, how
There's
many
no
fights
correct-
did I get into with that?
Yeah, there's
And
no correct answer.
there's no way to get out of it.
Right. Because as soon as you
Because
say,
I tried. I'm looking at nothing. I'm looking at the sky. Well, you're looking at me.
so
Well,
you saying I ain't nothing?
you're in my line of vision. Oh, well, you were looking at me, and that's it. It popped
Right.
off.
As soon as you say it, like, oh, I wasn't looking at nothing. So you saying I'm nothing.
Ah, there you go. They find, yes.
You don't think I'm stupid? That's what you just said. No, man, that ain't what I said. Oh, so now you saying I'm stupid. Because you saying I don't understand the complexity. That dude is trying to fight you.
Always.
And that whole conversation about get up out of the tent, that to me is more along the lines of that type of conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been around for shit. I know when people are trying to fight you. And that's the type of stuff people do when they want to fight you. There's no correct answer that's going to get you out. You can sit there and think you got the, you kiss the Blarney Stone, you got the sweetest tongue and all that other shit. If somebody in their mind, they're gonna go upside your head. They ain't shit.
No, not with this shit. No, nothing. Because that truly is what you're looking at. There's no fucking way out of that one.
No. You fight. Like my dad says, you might as well just go ahead and fire it off.
Don't even say shit. Just pop them one. Catch them by surprise. Maybe you'll knock them out. But 9 out of 10 times you surrounded and you don't even freaking know it because it was a roll up. But you got your licks in, shit. You got your licks in.
Yeah, you got at least one shot.
That's it.
Oh yeah, it's up, especially if he with his buddies. And that's the whole thing too. Like, people underestimate the crosstalk and the embarrassment. That's why I say that individuals, people are dangerous, groups are dangerous, because nobody wants to get embarrassed in front of their buddies.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many fights I've seen because your mama jokes. Somebody say something too funny, too true. You fighting. You do slap boxing. Somebody slip one.
That's it.
Counter. Then all of a sudden you slap the shit out of somebody. Y'all fighting for real.
Yeah, I never did hand games and never did your mama jokes. That shit, that were just things. There are things you can't avoid. Those two things you can. But if someone rolling up on you, what you're looking at, what you're doing here, you don't belong here. There's nothing you can do about it. It's a lose-lose.
In those two situations with the slap boxing and mama jokes, those people started out as friends, or at least friendly, and it evolved into a thing. And half the time, when people get mad, it's not just the fact that you say something about his mama that made him embarrassed.
It just hit the point.
It's the fact that it's in front of his friends.
Yeah.
And his friends said, ooh. And that ooh shit is what gets you.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's why.
That's what gets you that. That's why crowds are deadly.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's like, you're supposed to be the big tough man on campus, bossing all these people around, and you're supposed to be the big bad bully. Then all of a sudden you got a guy who's half your size telling you I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
And your friends are looking at you like, oh, I thought you was the tough guy. This dude is he don't give a shit about how big you are. He said you nothing, cuz. What you gonna do? And that's that's why I'm saying, like, if the adults were involved, like I had said from the beginning, if the adults were involved and people were correct that somebody asked them to do that shit, somebody need to lose their job and potentially their freedom. Because you don't ask a kid just because he big.
Not that type of kid. Not that type of kid. You don't ask a damn bully to do anything. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. You don't ask a bully to do anything. And, the bully is like, to me, the bully is like what I grew up as a bully is someone who started fights, someone who started trouble, and they were up to no good. Like, that's the bully. That was the definition of bully, like that I was given as a kid. Because what happened is when I got, learned how to defend myself and I got a little overzealous, and then I was the bully who beat up the bullies. My favorite hot teacher, Edward Motika, took me to the side and explained to me, you're being just as bad as those other people. You're being a bully, and this is what a bully is. And, he gave me that full definition, and that's what slowed my roll. So I kind of limited to defending myself, defending my family, and, y'all need to learn how to defend yourselves because I can't be 911.
Well, I mean, that and the fact that, like I said from the beginning, if I send my kid to school to run track, I'm sending him to run track. I'm not sending him to be security of the world.
No.
And so you don't ask my child to
No.
put himself in harm's way
Mm-mm.
to do your job.
Nope.
That's ridiculous to me. So I don't give a shit how big my kid is, because again, like I said, I've been a big guy for a long time. And I can tell you from experience, being tall and big does not make you bulletproof.
No, it does not.
Make you knife proof.
Nope.
Don't make you punch proof.
Nope.
You can get killed, hurt, maimed, destroyed, just like everybody else.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And if anything, like I said from the beginning, people assume that because you're a big guy, nobody mess with you. No, people still.
No, sometimes it's just a target because somebody want to prove something.
Well, the only difference is that when somebody, if I'm standing in a bar and somebody want to come over and pop shit to me, they're prepared to fight somebody who they expect there's a possibility might lose to. So when they prepare for that situation, they gather their friends, they gather whatever weaponry they need, they gather whatever tool they think they may have to use.
And that's another thing you just hit on. There was preparation in that interaction. There was malice aforethought. And it wasn't on Karmello's side.
Right.
It was that group, and I'm telling you that little cousin, there was malice aforethought, but
yeah, I mean the way they rolled up on him. But I'm just saying, like, my whole thing is that he was not. There's no way in the world I will never stand by and say that Anthony Austin did the right thing by approaching that, because he put himself in a bad situation. The whole like I said this earlier, possibly before you got on, but the whole purpose of security and the police, if you're in a bar and it's just a matter of a big dude coming up to you saying, "Hey man, you had enough to drink, you got to go." Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and leave. You don't really need security.
No,
you have security because you're going to come up to a guy and say, "Hey man, you've had enough."
And he don't want to leave.
I'm not going no place. That's why you have security, because when he says no, where do you go from there? So if you assigned Austin, it's not unrealistic to think that he may approach somebody, "Hey man, you got to get out from under the tent. I ain't going nowhere." Now, what is Austin supposed to do? Technically, he probably should go get a teacher.
Yeah.
Why should he be in that situation in the first place? If
exactly.
Anything, should have been in a situation where they see somebody who shouldn't have been under the tent. They should have went up to him and told him, "You got to go."
Yeah.
And if anything, you see them having a conversation or a conflict, a teacher as an adult, this is an adult speaking. I walk up, "What's going on? This guy shouldn't be under the tent." "Okay, Austin, you know what? You go ahead and take a walk. I'll take care of it. Thank you."
Exactly.
You address the young man. And if you need to put him out, then you put him out. But Austin, you getting heated, you need to take a walk. Thank you for that. I'm not going to sit there and try to facilitate a fight between two.
No, absolutely not.
You know what I mean? You need to take a walk. You guys, go sit down in the front. I got this. Thank you. And that's how it gets handled. And that's how nobody gets stabbed. That's how nobody goes to jail. And so that was the whole purpose of me saying, like with this, if that shit, if you guys actually believe that the school asked a teenager, 17-year-old, 18-year-old to be security force, then you should have a problem with the school. In fact, I think that you should have a bigger problem with the school than you have with Karmello.
Yeah. I say you're putting other kids in danger, but yeah. So, but that's a lot to think about. That's a lot to unpack and a lot to investigate. So, I'm hoping I get some free time, but that's something.
Huh? I said I'm sure we'll be talking about this case is not dying no time soon.
No, I'm just hoping that they get really good lawyers for the appeal because they're gonna need it because there's too many slippery slopes. But
Well, they got some of the best lawyers in the state, and which is also my big thing is this, and
is it the same lawyers from the first trial, or they got better lawyers?
No.
Oh, okay, so now they got the best lawyers. Thank
They
you,
got
Jesus.
like what's called an all-star team down there now. My
Thank
thing,
God.
people are pissed off because Karmello Anthony has these top tier attorneys. My thing is the same complaint I had during the OJ trial because I'm old.
I was there.
When that case came out and everybody, oh, he got the dream team. Here's the problem we should all have. If you are accused of a crime, you should want to have the access to the damn dream
Absolutely.
in order to get you off. You shouldn't be offended because somebody else is able to get them. You should be mad that you can't get one. That's what I'm mad about. If I get accused of a crime, I can't get the best of the best of the best in the state or the country or whatever to come down and defend me.
Yeah.
And make sure that my rights are being upheld and my freedoms are being protected. Like, why is it that we only it's only palpable for people to have when they're rich or they have money for them to have access to the best legal care? The same thing with medical care. You're okay with a rich guy being able to go out and get surgeries however they want, but if your mama gets sick or your auntie gets sick with cancer, oh, she's supposed to decide whether she's going to feed herself or get medication.
Yeah.
Or she's going to hire the best attorney, lose her house and everything that she's worked her whole life for a crime that she didn't commit because she's trying to protect her rights.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we don't have more competent attorneys running around. We should be upset at that fact, not mad at the fact that somebody's able to get one.
I'm glad that. Well, that makes me a little happier that he's got a really a good dream team and all of these, all of these points are being made in the appeal. So that's a good thing. But I know we're gonna be talking about this more, and well, we go into our true crime thing. Yeah, this is a better venue because I'm tired of that other family that I refuse to name. So there. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, Linda. Well, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you.
Y'all have a good night. I'll be in the comments until we sign off. Bye.
All right. Linda, real one. You better watch yourself. But yeah, look, guys. And again, I didn't start this trying to be a Karmello Anthony defender, none of that other shit. I'm just trying to do what's right. I'm just trying to do what's right by everybody. And like I said, I think that, to no small degree, I'm willing to take the position that Austin got set the fuck up. Like, I'm willing to say that. Like, I think that the way that between the way he was raised, the way he was brought up, the way he was groomed, the way he was tailored, the way that that they're trying to hold him out is just him getting set. Like, Austin got set up. He got set up. And if it wasn't going to be this time, then by the time he was an adult, we would have been hearing about him doing something in a bar somewhere, getting jammed up. So it's just, I don't know. But we had some messages come through. We had Brittany, not Brittany. What's up, Brittany? Mind the business that pays you and find something safe to do. This era of busybody Karen has to stop. Yeah, be safe, y'all. Be safe. And again, you don't have if you don't have authority and the owner isn't telling you this is what I need you to do, and you're especially if you ain't getting a paycheck, like Brittany's saying, if it ain't paying your ass, why are you putting yourself in the line of fire and the line of jeopardy? Risking your life, your limb, and all that for somebody else. Then we have Unlimited Lipstick. What's going on? 100% agree about Pew Pew education. Love the Magnum PI reference. Dun, 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 dun. Back when Tom Selleck was the man, son. That was a show back in the day. But yeah, 100%. Like if you're gonna have it in the house, if you are, and it's just something to consider. I'm not even gonna recommend one way or another. Because you have to conduct your life and your kids. You know your kids better than I do. But it's just that from my perspective, I never wanted that to be a mystery to them. I never wanted, because there is a lot of power in that 5-pound pressure to pull. All right. You can make a lot of life decisions in that 5 pound. So depending on how you kid it up. Some people they like hair triggers, they don't like their life or their toes. But you hiding things away from your kids, when they find it, it's a mystery and it's something to show off and it's something to brag about. And that's how accidents happen. They never learn a real respect of having that tool in the house, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a tool. It's not scary. It's a tool. It's like anything else. It's like knives in the house, deadly. Especially if you know how to work a knife, you know your way around a knife. A knife can be way worse than a pew pew. Way worse. People think that the worst thing that can happen is you run into somebody with a jammy. Jammies only really work one way. You got to get that little hole pointed at whatever it is you plan on blowing up or destroying. Knives is too many angles and come out of nowhere. So, it's a tool like any other tool, but you don't want to make it a mystery. You don't want to make it fascinating. You don't want to make it overly interesting. If anything, make the shit boring. Give them, show them that like it's not fun. It's not like they toys. Because if you ever held like a plastic one, and you held a real one, the edges are sharper. It's heavier. It's different. Like, and you just recognize the fact that it's different. This is not fun. And if you hurt somebody, the consequences of what happens when you hurt people, and start having those conversations with them so that way they understand that if something were to happen, there are bigger consequences than you just hitting a restart button or what do they call that? The thing on the video game, you just restart the game like, oh no, I hit a civilian, I'm gonna start over again. No, there's no restart or replay in real life, and so that's why I'm a big proponent of just educating kids. Because again, as Wendy mentioned, I think we have a couple. Ty, I think she's from Texas. Anybody who's down south, Miss Betty, she's from Mississippi. Like there was a cultural difference when it came to firearms, because the firearms were more available, and they grew up in cultures where kids would have access to literal shotguns. Like kids 15, 16-year-old would get shotguns for birthday presents and Christmas, hunting rifles for Christmas. And a hunting rifle is just as bad as like hunting rifles go through bulletproof vests, y'all. So they're serious. Like they're serious. And you didn't hear about like these wild, crazy ass people down south just banging, going to school, banging out people, because they grew up with it. It's a cultural difference in how they see the weapons. And in most civilized big community cities, the culture is you hide it away, you make it interesting, then you show them a bunch of movies and video games and rock videos and rap videos where people just, doing people indiscriminately and nothing ever happens. And it makes it fascinating and fun. And then you surprised when they go to school and try to abuse folks. That's the cultural difference, Just saying. Just saying. Then we had Carmel Cuties with the $5 super chat. Said it should have been a damn mistrial once the judge didn't honor the agreement. Yeah. The judge was corrupt as F. He should have recused himself, period. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Like, if you come into an agreement, especially a legal agreement on how you're going to proceed with stuff, I have 0% tolerance for backing out of that agreement, even if it's an agreement you don't like. Once you make an agreement, you have to live and die by that agreement. If you don't like the agreement, you should have thought of that shit before you made the agreement. If you think this agreement was dumb, if you wanted to include previous bad conduct, then you should have said, no, Karmello is a piece of shit. We're going to talk about his past. The problem that they had, and if we want to be honest, The problem that the Metcalf people had and the defense or prosecution had is that the Metcalfs, and this is not conjecture, this is not me making shit up. The Metcalfs had been lying about this situation from the beginning. Documented. They've been lying the whole time. Because Austin said, or Hunter said, that he and his brother was sitting under the tent minding their business. This is the first interview that they did. All of a sudden, Karmello comes under the tent and starts trash talking him and instigating a fight. And that's when he reached in his bag. His brother asked him to leave. And Karmello, out of nowhere, just reached in his bag and pulled something and killed his brother, and he died in his arms. Then we have documented videotape of Karmello already under the tent, and these guys aren't even in the stadium. That is a lie. So yeah, they did. There's a reason why, because everybody talk about like, oh well, Karmello didn't take the stand. There's a reason why Austin's brother, twin brother, whose arms he supposedly died in, didn't take the stand, because he and his mama had been lying the whole damn time. And for whatever reason, the defense counsel said, okay, you know what? We're not going to bring up the lies that they've been telling this whole time, that they've been pilfering through the media. We're only going to talk about what happened that day in that instance. The prosecution agreed to it. They went along with it. They conducted their case. And the second the defense counsel was like, okay, we're going to start our case. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and throw that out. And we're going to talk shit about like Karmello's past. And if, of course, in that strategy, even if Karmello's people said, okay, you know what, then we're going to start calling those witnesses to come back and talk about Austin and his brother Hunter, it looks like to the witnesses and to the jury that you're just picking on them because what's his name got banged out. Anthony got banged out. It'll look like the only reason why you're going after them is because Anthony got dirtied up because of his previous conduct. Now you're trying to drag the two brothers through the mud and they're the victims of the crime. So yeah, that shit would have been dumb. It would have been a horrible strategy. And for the judge to look him in the face and say, you got 10 minutes to figure out whether you're going to put Karmello Anthony on the stand, which is a life decision. And to be honest with you, I remember having this discussion with my dad that in order for you to successfully do, in my opinion, in order for you to successfully carry out a self-defense mitigation claim, you have to take the stand because they have to hear it from you what your perspective was, why you were afraid, why you were concerned, what assessments you made, why you did what you did. Nobody else can testify to why you did what you did but you. And for them to be able to cut Karmello Anthony off from that source of testimony destroys his case, in which case that becomes an effectiveness of counsel, that becomes a violation, potential violation of his rights, in which case they very well may overturn this hearing, in which case they have a new trial and they get to start over again. And people are going to be angry and they're going to be hurt and they're going to feel like they're being taken advantage of. And they're going to feel like, oh, it's not fair because Karmello Anthony did this and he's going to get away with it now. But all this is happening because the judge dropped the fucking ball and the judge didn't do his job. And all the discourse, the riots that potentially could happen, or the looting or protesting, that's because of the judge. Period. So when it happens, don't sit there and blame the black community. Don't blame the white community. Place the blame where it deserves to be, right at the feet of the judge. But thank you so much. Let me give you a little something. All right. And then we had Karma Cuties once again said they allowed a YouTube juror who is an educator. She taught it cosmetology. What? The three black educators were K through 12. My take as a teacher is a teacher, period. Oh, shit. I did not know that. Maybe that's the person they were talking about. Oh, allowed a white juror. Okay, not a YouTube juror. a white juror who was an educator. She taught at cosmetology. Yeah, see, problems, man, problems. This judge fucked it up for y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all now. Judge messed it up for y'all. I only say messed it up for y'all. He screwed the system over because, again, when you get verdicts, especially verdicts you disagree with, may not like, it's easier to deal with it when you have all the information or access to the information. If I hear, like, I was not a fan of the Rittenhouse verdict. Kyle Rittenhouse, I was not a fan of that verdict because I didn't understand how you could live in one state, get a rifle, go to another state where the state had already had at least a week or 2 weeks worth of protesting and looting and violence. You go to a place that you know is violent with a rifle to protect property that's not yours. So basically, you're deputizing yourself to protect a community that you're not a part of and you have no interest in. And then when people see you with said rifle and whatever happened, they think that you are a threat, they approach you, you start plinking people off, and you go home and say self-defense because I was scared. I don't know. And especially when they have previous, again, speaking of previous behavior, where he had said that he wanted to get a rifle and go kill Black Lives Matter people. I disagree with that. But then as we looked at the case and the judge made particular rulings, because you watch gavel to gavel, and the judge makes particular rulings, he says, okay, you know what? The fact that he had a rifle, even though it was ill-advised and it was a bad thing, kind of like Karmello Anthony, even though it's inappropriate for him to take a knife to school, it wasn't illegal for him to have the rifle. And because it wasn't illegal for him to have the rifle, he had every right to have the rifle, in which case he had every right to be on the street corner with the rifle, in which case when the guys did attack him, if he felt as though he was in fear of his life and he was in jeopardy, then he had every right to defend himself. But James, none of those guys were armed. That's true. But they were also part of a pack, even though they weren't, hey, Tom, Frank, Lewis, Henry, Joe, get his ass. They were there as part of a protest. And it's not unreasonable to think that these people, could mob you and take you over. And it's not unreasonable. I don't like the verdict, but at the same time, I have to respect the verdict because I understand the logic behind what they were saying. I don't like it, but I have to respect it because I understand the logic. In this particular case, with the Anthony case, I don't understand the logic. And part of the reason I don't understand the logic isn't just because it's a white kid and a black kid, and the black kid did, and the guy had a knife, and I don't understand the logic because the judge made it so that I can't understand the logic. Because I can't read the trial transcripts. I can't see the witnesses testify. The judge did that. That's not a Karmello Anthony's attorney's thing, mixing up the racial pot. That's not the Metcalf dad being a bigot. That's not none of that. The judge did that. The judge is the one who stirred that racial pot. And it's the judge's job. And again, there's so much missed opportunity because in my pedestrian view, I think that as a community, as a society, we're served better when civilians and our fellow citizens understand the laws and how the laws are applied. I think it just makes for a better community. Like we are not served better if the average citizen doesn't know what self-defense is and how it works. We're not served if nobody understands how aggravated assault works. That's a bad thing. So, but I think I've prattled on long enough. You guys are probably tired of my ass, especially talking about this. We will be dropping some the crash stuff coming up, and I have a video because again, I want to span past. I don't want to get trapped into just talking about Karmello and the Metcalf, even though I think that that's a just and right cause thing to talk about. I also want to talk about, like, again, some of the approaches that young men use. I have a specific case where a young lady had coerced a young man, lured a young man out, and tried to rob him. And I want to specifically talk about that case because there's always so much emphasis, especially when it comes to online dating, about how women need to protect themselves and be safe. And you don't know who you meet, and it could be a crazy person on the other side. So you have to defend yourself. But we spend very little time instructing young men to protect themselves. You know, that girl is too good to be true. She's so fine, so beautiful. She want to give it up. She want to do, she want to do something strange for a little bit of change. We spend so little time educating these young men that when you get your ass out there to wherever you going to meet whoever you meeting, you might be in for a surprise. We don't spend no time telling and educating these young men that you have to protect yourself the same way, because you're just as vulnerable meeting these young women as these young women are meeting these men. Maybe in the case of the young ladies, in fairness, the perpetrator has a physical advantage and he doesn't necessarily need help to be able to dominate that young lady. But let's be honest, we ain't in the damn as I would say to a manosphere person that I was discussing this with, a red pill person, men are kind of the protectors of the world. We're not in the Middle Ages no more. They have these things called, I don't know, pistoleros. And all it takes is, like I said, if she can pull 5 pounds of pressure with this one, that's all she needs. She don't need to be able to master sword fighting and be able to wield the axe or swing a hammer like Thor. She just needs 5 pounds of pressure. And that changes the entire dynamic of the entire situation. Because if a young man go to the house, he call himself about to get lucky, and she hit him with the click, 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 there ain't shit he can do except for start giving his stuff out or possibly get the front of his head blowed to the back of his head. That's what it is. So we just have to educate everybody, not just our young ladies, not just our daughters. We have to educate our sons as well so that they can stay safe and they can stay aware, so that they have that situational awareness that I was talking about. The first step to any self-defense is situational awareness, being aware of what's going on around you. What environment you're entering, what are the potential dangers, what are your exits, how can you get yourself, if shit do go down, how can you get out of it safely and securely? Teaching them that first part so that way, hopefully we can avoid some of these terrible stories that we read about and watch on YouTube about true crime. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave it, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you hanging out with me. 3.5 hours. Damn, I said it was only going to be an hour and a half. I lied. All right, but thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate you. That's my take. I'm James, and this has been my take on reality, and I'm out.